June 23rd, 2026, and we are going to go ahead and start our agenda with community input. Do we have any community input from anyone online or in the room? Okay, hearing none, we will go ahead and move on to the second item on the agenda, which is FY26 end of year financial transfers, and this is a joint meeting with the FinCom, and we're going to take a vote at the end of this. So anyone from FinCom want to come forward or bring themselves on?
Why don't you all come forward so they can hear on the
Okay.
speaker?
Do I have a remote? Yep, Victor. All right, I'd like to open the Finance Committee June 22nd meeting with a roll call vote, or roll call to open.
Brown here.
Cataccio here.
Delia here. Leland here.
Liang here. Okay, we're open.
Okay. Was there a presentation or anything that you guys had prepared?
Yeah, so this is Kelly, actually.
This is Kelly.
Who's joining us. She's going to present the end-of-year transfers to both the Select Board and the Finance Committee.
Good evening. Ryan, is it okay to share my screen?
Should be.
Okay, can everyone see the PDF here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so every year around this time, between May 1st and July 15th, Mass General Law allows a combination of Select Board and FinCom vote to allow us to reorganize the budget lines based on actual experiences during the fiscal year. So that's what this represents. Anything that is a positive number in this chart is a department that needed additional funds to support their needs this fiscal year. Anything that is a negative is what was pulled together to decrease those budgets to help offset the other increases. So if you were to add all these up, I did it 7 times today to be really sure, but they do net out to 0. So total budget impact is 0. It's all just moving between the operating budget line items. So I guess I can kind of go through really quickly I feel like the increases are probably more relevant than, the decreases in your eyes. So for some of the top line items, the police department were asking for an increase to their budget line for $100,000. We started this fiscal year with an employee retirement. That was kind of a little bit of a setback for the budget from, different payment standpoints. So that occurred, plus there's other contractual adjustments that happen during the year that can't always be exactly planned for, such as vacation buybacks, those types of things. Because it's not a guarantee folks are going to take that approach versus carrying their time over. So year to year that can vary. Town hall maintenance and facilities is requesting an increase of $45,000. That is to assist with the unpredictable nature of facilities, including, different things that are happening in different buildings like town hall, the police department, the library, DPW. Those are all buildings that the facilities department is supporting right now. Snow and ice is the next line for $42,000. So this one, FinCom, you're going to see this again in your later meeting. The total ask for snow and ice for an increase is $110,000. So this year, as we all saw, Mother Nature threw us a doozy. So we budgeted $90,000 for snow and ice, and $200,000 was what was spent out of that line. So to close the gap, $110,000 is needed. We were able to support a good chunk of it here through line item transfers, but we will be asking for a reserve fund transfer separately from FinCom to close that gap there. Some good news there outside of this is that the governor approved a supplemental budget for about $144,000 applicable to Carlisle. It's going to be distributed in a similar way as Chapter 90 funds, but that almost offsets, our overage in snow and ice this year, so that's something positive out of all this. Communications, 23,000. A big chunk of that is IT related. They've had some unexpected costs for technology and a good amount of overtime as well. And then the town clerk line, it's really small on this list, but that is the adjustment to shift funds from the historical commission line as we hired the assistant town clerk to absorb those duties. But the budget was set prior to that hire happening, so the budget lived in historic. We moved it up to the town clerk line to help keep them even. I'll pause for any questions.
Kelly, I'm looking down toward the bottom, the CCRSD. This is I assume, the regional school? Is this what
Yep.
we're looking at? Okay. Because I'm under the impression that Municipal Modernization Act that you cite there, I thought it exempted schools.
The Carlisle Public Schools. So the Carlisle Public Schools, their budget, the $13 million budget that they have, is under the control of the school committee. The assessment that we pay to the high school is under the jurisdiction of the town.
The difference there, the 22,000, is the difference in state aid. So when they projected their budget to you, they used a number that was less than what it ended up being in the state's consolidated budget. So that 22,000 is, they reduced the assessment during Concord's town meeting because they had better state aid numbers. So we received a $22,000 coupon.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to turn down good money, but I had to look up this law because I'm not super familiar with it, and it did say that no year-end alternative transfer can take funds from or give funds to a school department without the express approving vote from the school committee. I assume they voted on it.
So we're very unique. We have both a regional school and a local school. So local school has full jurisdiction of their budget, and we cannot change between lines without a vote of the school committee. What Kelly's saying is the regional school, they give us a bill and we pay it. So if we say that bill is going to be $100, and in this case it turns out to be 90, we get to keep the 10 without their say so. If they had an excess in their account and we wanted to grab it, that would be a different story. But this is our money.
Okay. Got it. So we'll take our money back. Okay. FinCom, did you have any puts and takes on any of this?
This pretty standard.
Yeah.
This end of year transfers.
Mhm.
Mark?
So to add some,
Hello.
Hey.
to add a little bit about future thinking and the way it relates to the 27 budget, this police budget is exactly what we thought it was going to be based on that retirement and decisions that were made. So we do think that this is a one-time issue with the police department as we dealt with some retirements and HR stuff. On the town hall and maintenance side, we under budgeted them by 25,000. Last year during the half step towards the full maintenance, we did a lot of work to understand that budget. So the deficit is really 20,000 in unexpected costs. We fixed the 25,000 in the FY27 budget. Communications, we talked about a lot during the budget process. This was making all of the police and communication computers managed per the needs of their systems. So that wasn't a managed computer previously. We only dealt with IT when we had to. Now they're on the managed system the way all of our computers are here in Town Hall. So they bore the brunt of both police and their own costs there. That was increased in the IT budget, and we covered it under our new contract as well. So you won't see that again.
Ryan, or Kelly, just for the snow and ice, that's always low, typically. Can you just give a quick synopsis of how the unique aspect of snow and ice and why it's under budgeted, the problems of increasing the budget, and is there any change on the horizon for how that can be managed? Because I know we always under budget. We don't want to increase the budget because once you increase it, you can't decrease it. Can you just give a quick synopsis of that?
So if you decrease it, you lose the ability to add it to your tax rate. So
Right.
let me explain that more simply. If you overspend in that line item, you can then put it on your tax rate, meaning without a vote of town meeting, you can increase people's taxes in order to pay for that deficit because of the unique nature of snow and ice, because you could have a really bad year. So you still have that option. So we could put that on the tax rate and increase taxes to cover that. Basically saying FY27 is gonna pay for FY26.
But in terms of the operating budget, there's a particular scenario with snow and ice where, correct,
It's something like if you over budget, it's stuck in there.
yeah, you can't
You can't get it in.
decrease,
Can't transfer it out.
Right.
it's always under budgeted.
Yes.
Because you can't, can you just remind us of why? I
Because-
thought there was a law, like you can't reduce your,
Can't use it end of the year transfers. Is that-
If you decrease it, you lose the ability to do what I'm saying, which is
Yeah.
to add it to your tax rate rather than cover it with free cash, which is what we're doing essentially by moving it between lines.
I thought there was
A
like,
snow and ice deficit, if you overspend the appropriation, it's considered a legal deficit. So right now, we're budgeting snow and ice at $90,000. You're allowed to increase that budget line and maintain your status to overspend that budget and add it to the next year's tax rate, which is not what we're doing here. We're, transferring between funds that we already have available. But if you were to decrease the budget from 90,000 to 100,000 going into, an upcoming fiscal year, the state considers that, that you would no longer be able to overspend that budget and apply it to the tax rate. We could still do this process here if we're going to overspend the line item for, Mother Nature, but you wouldn't be able to use it on the upcoming tax rate like you can currently. Does that make sense?
So the best way to understand this is if we didn't have the ability to transfer from other funds, we would have a hole in the budget that we can't fix. So you can take that hole and put it on next year's taxes if you want to legally. If you decrease the snow and ice, basically they think you are trying to hide money, right? So then you lose that option. So you do want to under budget, but not so much that you're,
because we're typically
But
like,
if you over budget, what happens? Let's say we had a surplus of 50,000 because we budgeted 150,000. I think that's the question.
yeah, well, and I know
There was a reason
we typically under
don't-
budget at like 40 to
Right.
60K.
Yeah, we usually under budget. I thought there was a reason too. We don't over budget.
Right.
because it's a flexible line. So best practice is you under budget because you can overspend it.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't make as much sense in Carlisle because
Got it,
you
right.
never put it on your tax
Because
rate.
if you over budget, you're automatically gonna overtax.
But a lot
if
of
it's okay.
towns, if they had $100,000, they wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to cover it, so you'd have to use the tax rate. So you would lose that option.
That's historically, the snow and ice is the big transfer. You know you're gonna have a snow and ice
Right.
transfer every year, usually in 40 to 50K.
And we did raise it even a few years ago.
Yeah.
I think it used to be 50 and now it's 90, you said, so.
But it's probably good to just periodically revisit that
Yeah.
strategy.
I remember when we raised it, it was a year that it barely snowed and we still went over. And that was
Yeah,
a good
you-
litmus test.
Yeah.
To Jim's credit, he considers this to be something that he needs to try to cover, so he doesn't spend in other areas to overcome it. Putting it on the tax
Yeah, that-
rate would allow you to have 100,000 for other transfers or free cash, but it would also increase the tax impact, which is not something you presented to town meeting.
Yep.
Yeah, Ryan, you make a good point. So for snow and ice, if you look at some of the negative lines in here, you'll see the transfer station, 15,000, road maintenance, 15,000, and then Department of Public Works, 30,000. Those are all negative numbers. Those are all, like Ryan said, Jim considers his DPW budget, and he looks at all four of those categories. So he tries to make up, even if you get a ton of snow, he's trying to identify that within his other budget lines to try to offset that burden at the same time during the year.
And he did that and more.
And
Yeah.
and there's a reason why, well, I don't want to get into it, but theoretically, snow and ice should be part of DPW, you would think. But it has to be its own
Yes.
separate account.
Because it has this
Legally.
unique flexibility.
Yeah, okay.
It's a New England special.
Yeah, we've got a few of those.
On the revenue side, just a couple things to point out. The inspectional services, that was the move from John to an interim. So that's why that excess exists there. Historical Commission was the combination of the Assistant Town Clerk and the Historical Commission admin, so that's an internal regionalization, if you will. And then the blanket insurance is, a lot of that work is Gretchen getting control of insurance, maximizing their rewards program so that we can have money returned there. So there's a lot of good savings being done here with proactive town employees, including Jim, who didn't hire a employee in order to help offset this deficit for a couple months, although we hired that employee now. So that was helping with the DPW Public Works line.
And I'm sorry, remind me, Ryan, what was the vocational item?
Just looking at the amounts.
Near the middle, it's 1,500.
About $1,500.
Yeah.
We came in just slightly under. That's a combination of the busing contract for FY26 and the 2 semesters that we paid to Minuteman for our current student.
Okay.
So we slightly over budgeted there. The veterans
Yeah.
agent is really veteran benefits.
Uh-huh.
Veteran benefits are also a unique line. If you have someone who qualifies for the assistance program, which is very difficult, so you don't get a lot in Carlisle, but you have to pay it. So it's one of those accounts where if someone comes in and they need the money, you have to pay it out of that operating budget, even if you didn't budget for it. So you budget for it, but often here it's not used, so that money ends up being returned. So it's a risk, it's another risk account. Do you want to have money in there? So at one point this year, we did have a client. If that client had continued monthly and it wasn't a one-time assistance, that would have eaten through all of the veteran benefits line. But then we didn't have another client for the rest of the year, so it's an interesting account. There's some risk management involved.
You budget 10,000 for that?
10,000.
Yeah, Mark.
Question, presumably there's other.
Oh, sorry, state.
Yeah,
your
Mark
address.
Bernstein, Finance Committee. Presumably there's other line items that will have an underspend this year
Yes.
that aren't shown here that will go to free cash or some other thing. So how did you guys pick and choose where to grab the money to cover this versus letting it just go over to free cash?
So Kelly is meticulous about this, and she can explain her process, but she will only take from accounts that she believes through risk analysis will not be spent by the end of this fiscal year, which we still have a couple weeks left. But there are a lot of accounts that add up to a significant amount of money that we can't just do a dollar for dollar. So really, her effort here is to make it as transparent as possible for you. So for 15 out, there's 15 in. There's more in some of those accounts and there's more in other accounts, but she wanted it to match. We wanted to match for transparency purposes.
Right, there will still be turnbacks, and even in some of the accounts that are, contributing funds to help offset the overages, I do still expect turnbacks, really in all of these accounts. Even in facilities, we're transferring 45,000. There should still be a buffer there that, we're not coming right up to the dollar at the end of the fiscal year, because that would create a lot of anxiety in the accounting department. So we try to build in a little bit of room so it's not quite so close that it becomes a problem in a couple weeks. Because we can only do this through July 15th. So if something goes haywire between now and then, I'd be, knocking on your doorstep again, and my hope is to not have to do that.
So overall, my belief is that we'll have spent 99 point something % of the budget. So 1% of the budget is about 370,000 in turnbacks after including this. So that's about where we want to be in terms of free cash development in our financial policies.
It's good. Yeah, slightly
Right.
underrun is fine. Yeah.
Ryan, what were some of the big items in the maintenance and facilities that makes up the 45,000?
There was nothing
It's just all
massive.
smaller
It
things.
wasn't capital. It was 4,000 here, and I don't have the exact list prepared, but I can get it for you.
But nothing that stands out.
Is that like the plumbing repair and,
The town hall flood, yeah,
yeah?
was one of them.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of plumbing related troubles between here, the police station, the library. But those are the ones that add up, relatively quickly. As Ryan said, $3,000-4,000 here and there. Those are the trouble spots that kind of built things up. As he mentioned earlier, we also under budgeted the facilities by about 25,000. So the other 20, some of that's attributable to electricity costs as well. The electricity cost has been pretty high this year, but I think everyone is seeing that even on a personal level. So it is a combination of moderate to smaller items, nothing massive or capital related.
Okay, thank you.
The finance committee will note, as well, as we've talked about this a lot, that there are lines in the budget that are called facilities and maintenance that are used for, not like nefariously, but for other purposes. So we're trying to get a hold of everything that was considered maintenance and facilities and get it under one department so that you can understand how it's being spent. And not have like, you know, the select board budget also include an electric bill or something like that. So as we do that, it's gonna get cleaner and cleaner, and we can identify those one-offs better.
Okay. Okay, so how does this work when we have a joint meeting? Does FinCom need to make a motion and we make a motion, or how does
Yeah,
that?
you each make individual.
Yep, so for this one, backwards from the budget process, it's actually the select board is to vote first, and the FinCom concurs with the select board on your decision.
I like
Okay.
that.
Great. I'd make a motion, then I'd move that the select board vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 33B, to approve year-end transfers between various line items of the fiscal year 2026 budget as detailed in the memo from the town accountant dated June 23rd, 2026.
Second?
Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay.
FinCom?
Someone want to make a motion as well?
Can you scroll?
Sorry.
There we go.
Oh, we don't have ours there. So is it just we concur?
It's the same.
No, there's a second, like after the.
Oh, the same
vote, there's a
motion.
Financial.
Oh, I just read the whole
Finance
thing?
Committee.
All right.
Yeah.
I move that the Finance Committee vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 33B, to approve year-end transfers between various line items of the fiscal year 2026 budget as detailed in the memo from the town accountant dated June 23rd, 2026.
I'll second.
Thank you, and we have a member online, so let's do a roll call vote.
Bernstein, aye.
Brown eye.
Cataccio, aye?
Delia, aye.
Leland, aye.
Okay. There you go, Kelly.
Thank you
Thank-
very much.
thank you for all that hard
Christine
work.
and James, of course. I'll send a DocuSign to
Yep.
both chairs for a final signature. But then that should do it. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Great.
Thank you.
And we're just gonna move, not go out of session.
Okay. We are
To the upstairs
Yeah.
session?
mostly on schedule. Why don't we turn our attention, or do you guys need to adjourn?
Yeah, are you
Well,
adjourning, or
are we joint with?
Yes,
We should
we
be
are.
joint.
With the
Yeah,
town
so
meeting
we
study
will
committee,
keep
you
this
guys
open
wanna
for now.
come together?
Oh, everyone's gonna be, we need a bigger table. Gonna need
I need a bigger boat, yes.
Okay. That's the plan.
Yeah.
Next town meeting. Really use it.
David Modell, welcome back.
Well, how are you?
Doing great.
It's a different perspective from you. Where's Mr. Thomas today?
He's apparently at a World Cup game.
No, which one? The one down in.
Yeah.
Apparently, yeah. I don't know which one
England,
it
Ghana,
is.
maybe? That's. yeah.
England, Ghana.
Good thing.
No.
They didn't even score. No one scored.
Well, the chair of the town meeting study committee is taking his retirement from the select board very, very seriously, and so he asked if I would lead the presentation.
Super.
Do you guys need to,
We already-
call your meeting?
No, we
Oh, you're all
are,
good.
so we voted to approve our report, and our apologies, we didn't figure out until a few minutes ago that you didn't have our, 99.8% completed draft included in your packet. So apologies about that. So what I'm gonna do is, there's the full report, which includes 2 appendices, is under 30 pages with pretty generous spacing, and there is an executive summary at the beginning. So what I will do is quickly, not do the entire executive summary, but quickly run through it. So and let's see, who was, Travis, I think you were on the board at the time that we started this, and Nathan certainly was, because he was part of it, and David obviously was, but, so the committee was established in February of 2024 by the select board with the goal to, quote, investigate and recommend strategies to heighten citizen engagement in the town meeting process and improve town meeting. And so that was our mission, and we, basically our view was that people, there are certain barriers and things that discourage people from attending town meeting, and so we, through the couple of years that we've been meeting, we've been trying to figure out three things. Are there ways to to enable and encourage more voters to participate? Can the meeting be made more efficient and enjoyable? And how can voters become better informed before they arrive? People who come to town meeting and regulars actually tend to enjoy it. They're engaged, they think that they're doing something important, they value participatory democracy. People who don't tend to either believe, we've found from surveys, either things are running fine in town so don't bother me, or they're interested but they're too busy, life is too difficult, whatever. And some people think it is too long and tedious. So we tried to come up with a bunch of ideas and recommendations that would enable us to address as many of those things as possible. We followed an iterative process. The nice thing about me participating first ex officio, and then I became a formal member of the committee midway through, was that as good ideas came up, we tried to implement them. So a lot of the recommendations in the report have already been implemented. So this is one of those reports that was a success before it was delivered.
Saying it took so long that we ran across 3 different town meetings, so we had a living laboratory.
Okay, so here are there are a bunch of recommendations. The executive summary tries to just narrow down on the ones that are most important. The number one recommendation that we have is that we hold the annual town meeting on Sunday afternoon. And we call that the single most impactful change. Attendance at the May 2025 meeting was 381, which was well above the pre-pandemic average of 278, or the post-pandemic average of 228, looking at the years 2022 to 2024. So that's, we believe that is the thing that it is the best way to deal with childcare, deals with other conflicts that people have, or just being stressed out, their business travel and things like that. So we really do think that the Sunday afternoon scheduling is the way to go. Other things that we believe very important, and here's one that's already been in place, at least this year, was close the annual warrant no later than the end of February, and require sponsoring boards and committees to submit public outreach plans alongside their warrant placeholder requests. The earlier that you close the warrant, the more outreach that the boards and committees can make, the better educated the public can be, the fewer issues that you run into. But in order to get that schedule done, you need to commit to the town meeting date. You need to set it as early as possible. As early in your new fiscal year, you need to decide what the date is going to be, is what I mean, so everyone knows what the schedule is. Provide every household timely, comprehensive information on each warrant article through a dedicated section of the town website, supplemented by podcasts, short videos, social media postings. That's been a huge win. Ryan and the rest of the team have just done a bang-up job, and all the boards and committees have been enthusiastic participants. We think that's been a big win. And then the last one, we didn't take a position as a committee on remote participation. It's too early to tell, and there's a lot of mixed stuff, but certainly a lot of townspeople are interested in it, and there are other towns who have bigger IT budgets and bigger aspirations. We're trying to push things. So our recommendation there is at least continue to monitor what other towns are doing in terms of state legislative authorization. And as that evolves, at that point, you and/or other town bodies may want to take a position. We are not recommending scheduling routine fall special town meetings, which is something that we tried for a number of years. And so the recommendation is just go back to what we used to have, which is if we need a fall special town meeting, we schedule one, but we don't plan on doing it regularly. Nor do we recommend replacing open town meeting with representative town meeting. There are a couple of other things that just want to mention. One is that actually the recommendation is that when you set the annual town meeting date for next spring, you should do that by June 30th each year. Set that as your goal. Concord set theirs 2 weeks ago. They chose May 18th, May 19th, something like that. I forget what it is, but 17th. And get that scheduled as soon as possible. And we're also saying target a date on or before the first weekend in May. The thing about the Sunday meetings, the further you get into May, the more conflicts you get with graduations, reunions, weddings, and stuff like that in May. So the sweet spot is earlier in May. We couldn't do it this year because of the fire station, but we highly recommend that. Something that that was recommended and we've already implemented and I think has been pretty successful is that we get right down to business, starting with the financial stuff. And I think my personal perception is that worked very well this year, and I think people appreciate it. One thing that I'm going to add that the committee we didn't really discuss new recommendations late this spring because we sort of finished our main work in the winter. But I had attended the Concord town meeting in late April this year and saw that their FinCom delivers their report, which is just their assessment. This is the long-range view of the town finances. Here's what's happened. Here's what will happen to tax rates if we approve everything that's on the warrant and so forth. And I saw that, and that was separate from the budget, rather than smushing the report and the budget proposal together as we have done. I saw that. I thought it was great. They nailed it in like 6 minutes. I mentioned it to James, but it was already too late to change the freight train that was already headed down the road in Carlisle. And sure enough, we got to town meeting, and most of the questions that FinCom got were exactly that. They would have been nailed had that overview been presented separately. So my personal recommendation is that we move to a format like that of having the Finance Committee report first thing up in the meeting as part of the acceptance of reports motion, and then that's really separate. You give it 5-6 minutes, whatever it is, and then the budget presentation be separate. Couple of other things I will skip over from our executive summary. The last thing I want to mention from the executive summary is that we establish a town meeting advisory committee appointed by the moderator in consultation with the select board to provide ongoing feedback and continuity. I've been doing this moderator job for the last 18 years. The first 15, 16, I never really had a set of people who could push me around, give me a hard time, make good recommendations and so forth. I've loved having this group of dedicated people. I found it immensely valuable, and I think it'll be valuable to me, and it'll be really valuable to my successor. So I think we ought to go ahead and do that. I don't have details of how we're going to do it, but just conceptually, that's part of what this committee is reporting. And then one final thing I'll drop in as moderator. It's my personal recommendation as moderator, not a committee thing. But I'm done being major technical support for a town meeting, and so Bill Rizzo, who has also been spending many hours helping with technical support has recommended to that FinCom and the Select Board at least consider following the successful model of what you're doing with the facilities. Does it make sense to combine IT support of the school with town hall, move some money over there so that the school can actually can hire additional staff who's Microsoft enabled, and so that you have the combination of what you need for town meeting. It's a combination of network expertise and a bunch of coordination and management, along with dedicated support to what the town hall employees need. That would be a huge thing. So my personal recommendation is just drop that idea and hope that you will look at it over the coming year. So that's a quick run through.
There were a lot of really great things in there, but what I can't get past is, has it really been 18 years?
I know.
Yeah.
That's wise.
We gotta look in the mirror, all of us.
And, unfortunately, it's been all downhill since the first meeting, which I remember. I was at a barbecue in July or something like that, and Tim Holt, just after I was elected in May, Tim Holt, who was on the select board, said, "Wayne, I got bad news. We're gonna have a special town meeting." And I was like, in September. I said, "I'm not prepared. I don't know how to do it. I haven't been to my training or anything like that." He said, "Don't worry, it's easy. One article, all we have to do is vote to lower the tax rate."
Oh.
There was, there was early, the state bought back some high yield, high interest rate bonds or something like that. There's some sort of deal where actually unexpected money came in. Larry Barton made it, as usual, 8-minute, no one could understand mumble what he said, but we all voted it and the meeting was over in 12 minutes. So.
How about the one right at the height of COVID where we were in the school parking
Well,
lot?
that was-
Like
I remember
16
that.
of us, so we
Yeah.
got it done in about an hour. I'll make a couple just quick remarks. I think, I'm not sure we solved the fundamental conundrum, which is, do people, especially younger people, appreciate the uniqueness and the value of face-to-face deliberation of the issues, right? I mean, we get inundated by information, and people have all kinds of, claims on their time, especially with young kids, and we get all that. But it's so rare, in this world, in a true democracy, which the town is more of a true democracy than most places, and have the opportunity, we call it legislature for a day or legislator for a day. But it's the chance, and it's historical, yes, but it's the chance to actually deliberate with your peer citizens about issues that matter to you in the town, over which you have a reasonable amount of say. It's not like 300 million people voting or whatever, right? So that's a rarity, and it's a special thing, and it skews older now, people get older, maybe less commitment, and they appreciate it, and all of us who are in town government are here because we like that stuff, so all right. But I don't think we've really moved the needle significantly that way, and some of it will be, I think, technology over time to a generation that is like, well, why are we all sitting here for 3 hours? Like, what's that? But I think if we can continue, to nip at the edges, right? So things that Wayne and his team did to make it a much more streamlined meeting, that's really good. I think what Ryan and Aubrey and everybody did, with some catalyzation by us, but really their own initiative to get more information in many, many channels, podcasts, website, whatever. I mean, get people to kind of learn about stuff. I think we just have to keep at it, and just try to, and maybe Sunday, Sunday's a good, and by the way, not only just May, but keep an eye, like, you want, like, crappy weather, basically. But I think, in thinking back at it, we've done a lot of little things, and some of them are good. We just have to stay at it. And the last one is this idea of, I use the term Brian taught me, operationalizing the town meeting. So we were pushed into sort of an operational role when we did all this stuff, like at food trucks and this and that. But that really wasn't our purpose. But there is a spot for, if we want to make it a centerpiece event, you know, you got to have some people who are willing to put the time in to do the regular things about promoting it and making sure everything runs well. So those are takeaways. They're not quite in the report, but as we keep going, I think that's important. And finally, I'd say, and no surprise to you, we're not the only town that's running into this. Almost every town we spoke with has exactly the same problem. So, anyway, but it was an honor to serve with this team, and they did a great job. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well taken, David. Yeah, you know, some of us with teenagers often fear for the collapse of the intellectual collapse of our society, but I think
And
that
our parents felt the same.
Yes, I'm sure.
In
The
fact, my mom
exchange of
reminded me of that period.
Yes, the exchange of ideas, the dialogue, you know, people coming prepared to have their mind changed and listening to their townspeople, all of whom make very good points. You know, it's a valuable forum, and it's not something that I experienced until I moved here 10 years ago. So, good job on removing barriers and trying new ideas. What other questions or comments do we have?
I have a specific question about the Sunday, because I know we had it on Monday this year. I don't recall what the attendance was. I do recall you doing the opening poll question and asking, do you prefer Sunday or Monday? And I thought the preference was Monday.
Well, yeah, but
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's
that's a totally skewed sample.
Monday.
But where do you get the Sunday from? Like,
Oh, the Sunday,
that's a
we
skewed
had,
sample
we
as
had
well.
extensive, you know, we did a variety of surveys over the course of our work, and, you know, it tilted towards Sunday, though, you know, there was a significant minority who said Monday, but I think it deserves a couple more year trial and see how it settles out. You know, a year ago, we had the looming MBTA. We didn't have the exact thing, but we had the advisory articles and a couple of other controversial things. But, I mean, if you look at it as we actually get it from both ends. As the population ages, the number of our residents who do not want to be out late because they're concerned about driving in the dark is increasing. People with younger kids, offering childcare in the school for, you know, 7:30, 8 o'clock meeting when you want them in bed at 7:30 or 8 o'clock doesn't really solve the problem for them. Whereas if it's Sunday, and Brian, maybe you should actually talk, you're the one who has the clearest view on this.
Yeah, it does remove a barrier to a certain group of people for coming. I mean, I can speak to my own experience with a first grader, third grader, seventh grader. I can leave them for several hours on a Sunday. My wife and I could leave them. On a Monday night, I'm not trusting the seventh grader to get everybody to bed and all that. So, you know, this past town meeting, I was the only one who went. She's watched online until it got to something she cared about, zoomed over and then zoomed back. But also just being fresher at 1 o'clock in the afternoon versus 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, I think has to be factored in.
Well, and the other point you made a number of times was that the child care issue is much easier for parents to deal with on their own on a Sunday afternoon.
Sure.
It's like, you know, the fifth grader is going to spend the afternoon with friends or whatever. We obviously need to do some things to make sure that the Sunday meetings don't extend into 6 and 7, 8 o'clock p.m., which was something that we learned the first time that we didn't have that one correct, but we now know to do it again. I think we know how to do it right.
Yeah, I mean, we tried, as you know, we tried a food truck because it's sort of a lunchtime. Didn't really get the response. Doesn't mean it was a bad idea. Just, you know, we have to be, again, more creative. The operational committee, and it's mentioned in the report, there's other ways to provide food or other ways people could maybe have some kind of snack. Childcare also, we didn't get the interest. There was an art club that Rachel Levy had proposed and not enough people signed. But doesn't mean it was a bad idea. I mean, it was the first time. So I think part of the just going to Sunday is to break the paradigm a little bit, right? I mean, it just is a different look. Again, early, you gotta thread the needle, right? Saturday is typically sports of kids. Sunday, there's church, but after that, it tends to be a little bit, generally, a little bit more open. It's not football season, et cetera, et cetera. And if it's before all these other activities, I do believe there's a window in, say, April, early April, where there's not so much competition for that Sunday afternoon. And if you start it and you're still time efficient, if you start at 1 and you're done by 4, that's not different than 6 to 9, 6 to 10. I mean, you can manage it inside a frame. And I think we can begin to shake loose some people who feel there's impediments to them.
Just to be clear, I thought earlier it was early May. Is it April or May?
I would advocate for April personally.
So what we've heard, which includes from Town Council Tom Harrington, his general perception is that for the towns that meet, some meet on Saturdays, for example, Lincoln is all day, typically like the last Saturday in March. And I forget, one of the North Shore towns was a big advocate for Sunday. The ones that get the most attendance tend to be late March, early April. And the further you get into spring, was Tom's observation, was the more competition you get with other events. You then have, with April, you then have the issue of, you don't want to do it on either
The break.
weekend of the school break, so that's a little bit of a challenge, but, you know, that's why we said no later than the weekend before Mother's Day is practically what I think your deadline
The
is
outer
for a
limit,
good
So the
Sunday.
first Sunday in May every year.
First Sunday in May.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to Wayne's point about set the calendar early. Take a look at, I mean, one thing we didn't do well at that first Sunday, we didn't do a full conflict check. Because we ran into college reunions, which was totally not on my, or graduations rather, which was definitely not on my radar screen. But I think if you take a look and you look at when are the Savoyards and when is the Easter vacation or the spring vacation, when is Mother's Day and when is Easter, and you're gonna triangulate around like 2 or 3 possible dates, and if you pick it and people can, I mean, it's again, this is a long iterative process, and it may be in a few years, if you give it a couple years and it's not moving the needle, then okay, maybe we go back, but we believe it's worth giving more than one try.
Yes, John.
Christine, you also have someone online.
Okay, just John Valentine, 268 Fifth Street. I just want to sort of reiterate Wayne's comment, but going back 20 years, and then I also, by the way, happened to read Dave Modell's 2009 letter from the FinCom outlining the challenges that were happening in budgets. And I think FinCom sort of deferred a little bit to, it's in the budget book, and you sort of said the process, but if you look at the earlier letters, there's often say, here are what the challenges are, here's what's going on, and we know this is tough. And I think town meeting is a time to communicate these issues, both by FinCom and the select board. And I think it's really important, you're the leaders, you work really hard to get here, to communicate that, quickly up front and say, here's what we're dealing with. They're not easy, we know that, and we've all seen the grumbling in City in the Woods and other places. And the school committee does a tremendous amount of work, and as you know, Brian has, and I have not read the recent report, but there's a lot of things there that's out there to be communicated. This is your one time when you've got a bunch of people together. Let's use it to get it out there, because not many people do it. And it doesn't have to be long, but just get there, so hear the issues. We're dealing with them, they're not easy. And you've done a tremendous amount of work. You're wrestling with all these issues. These are not easy, and we know that, and people need to know that. And I don't think that gets through easily.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea to get down to business, as Wayne called it, right? Get in there with the FinCom report and the budget presentation.
But you guys too, you should say something up front in what you're doing, because you're the leaders, you run the process. And I think in some ways just having these committees is, we look to you with the FinCom to make this work. And you work
Okay.
really hard.
So, we have a comment online. Can you announce yourself, please?
Nancy?
Nancy.
Yes, yeah, I wanted to add that, because I did the survey, Sunday came from survey results, and, in particular, on the survey that we did last May, there was almost nobody that said that Sunday was harder, and of course, that's a skewed sample too, because those were people that were at that town meeting. But almost everybody said it was either easier or it didn't make any difference. So we do have some empirical evidence for why it makes sense, that's all. Just wanted to add that.
Okay, thank you.
I would say Nancy was our data guru. I mean, she ran the surveys, and again, samples, small town sample sizes are small, but we get a couple hundred responses, and you get some patterning. We presented that at some interim meeting, I think, a year ago or so. Some patterns are emerging about what people think about it, and so there's data.
Can I just ask a quick question? So Wayne, you talked about forming, before when you visited, you said it was a kitchen cabinet that you had formed to kind of give you, I haven't read the report, but from a recommendation standpoint, what do you think is going to be most effective? Is this a formal cabinet type thing or board going forward? And how do we maintain what you all have done as a committee and keep that momentum, but maybe we don't have that volunteerism, I don't know.
Well, I think the two things are connected. Well, so I need to sort of figure out, I want to consult with other moderators, and because some towns do have standing committees of various stripes, and I haven't had a chance to do research to find out which formats actually work and which don't. In my mind, I was thinking, I would love to have, a set of people that say, just thinking about the annual town meeting schedule. So assuming that it's going to be late April, early May, I would love to have people to sit down with, say, in February, when we know what the warrant is shaping up to be, and talk about, okay, are there particular things we want to try and so forth, and just sort of brainstorm a bunch of things. And then as we get closer to the meeting, there may be particular issues of where I'd like some advice to think through how, what are you all hearing about, how exercised are people about this and that, and can sort of just help me make some tactical decisions. And then could meet afterwards to give me feedback, ask questions, and so forth. And we'll come up with a bunch of things to do differently the next time. Maybe we meet in the fall, maybe we don't. We certainly would if there were a fall town meeting. But it's just meet a couple of times a year, and the importance of having a committee would be a couple of things. One is, if people are appointed to a committee, they tend most of the time to take the job a little bit more seriously, which is good. Two, it gives me, if I do implement some changes, because there are a lot of things I can just decide to do unilaterally. Just because I have the power to do it doesn't mean it's smart for me to do it. But if it's a good idea and the committee has encouraged me to do that, then when I introduce the change, I can say, hey, the advisory committee thought we ought to try it this way, so we're going to try it this way.
Sure.
Give some legitimacy to the change. And then the third thing is the point that you mentioned, is that committee, they'll have their Bible and they can say, okay, how are we doing on these things? There was this recommendation that was made a year or two ago. Nobody did anything with it. Do we still think that's viable? Yeah, we do. So let's pay attention to it. So I think that actually is part of the mechanism for follow-through of this report.
Okay. Were there any aspects of the 2026 annual town meeting that you guys wanted to run through, or like a after-action review on that?
Did we?
I mean, I think we made continued inroads into efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
The sequencing, as Wayne mentioned, of, I can't remember exactly, but budget was right, I don't know if it was the first,
yeah.
but it was right early. I mean, listen, if you start from the beginning, the classic model is 7 p.m., there's lollygagging and delays in check-in, getting a quorum, and there's the exits, and then there's the roll call, and there's the report about the, I don't know, some federal threat thing, and then there's the acknowledgement of people who retired. By 8 o'clock, you're settled in. Like, people are like, what? It's 8 o'clock, right? So we moved it back an hour because people are not as tethered to their commuting as in years past. And again, and I, from my own experience, I know that Mondays, if it is gonna be a weekday, people tend to work remotely at the edges of the week. So we can start earlier. We're crisper at the beginning. We eliminated things that we didn't feel were actually necessary. Put the names of the volunteers up, don't read all the names, you know, little things, they add up. Then get the meaty issues up front. Wayne has proposed, and it's worked out pretty well, to cut the time allotted to
Yeah,
presenters from.
Went from 8 to 6 and
Right.
from 3 to 2 on the
So,
floor.
you know, be crisper that way. Make sure people are lined up at the microphones, you know, things like that. So if we can get through significant issues, and people will leave, and when issues that they care about are presented and go, they may decide to leave, and all right, you know, that's okay, but they're there for the ones that count, we'll take it. So I think if we continue to, you're asking me about 26, I think it was successful because there was still quite a bit on the agenda, and we got through it with reasonable debate. It wasn't like there was no debate. There were issues that, you know, went back and forth quite a bit, but we kind of buttoned the whole thing up, and it was done in a night. So
Right.
I think it was okay.
I think one comment, just to echo, I think something you said, Wayne, and needing more, these town meetings are getting more technically demanding in terms of not only the standard microphones, but we've got the clickers, we've got
Yeah.
the AV setup, we've got.
Clickers helps a lot, by the way. That's a
Oh,
huge.
yeah.
What's it?
That's been a huge.
But there's a heavy lift now with just
Yeah.
the setup, the
The
AV
IT,
setup,
right.
and I think we need to, as a select board, we need to make sure that the appropriate support and resources are brought to bear so that, I know there were some delays at the beginning that related to the microphones and some people couldn't hear, and then, you know, so I think it's on us to make sure that the town meeting has the appropriate technical support so that
Right.
the moderator and all the participants can just get rolling.
Right.
And it is a lot.
On the clicker part, I kind of, towards the end, you stopped using the clicker, and it kind of went faster, but it was clear that those, you know, it was clear anyway to me that it probably wasn't going to be a close vote.
Yeah.
Right,
And
that's
so
why you gotta
maybe
do-
using the clicker a little less and just
Yeah.
using it for the closer vote, because I think it really slows it down.
Yeah, to
Well,
be
it-
honest,
right.
I've gone back and forth. We started doing it that way. Then there was the question of, well, how are you deciding which things are likely to be close or not? And you see when you do the clickers, we have far fewer unanimous votes than we used to.
Right. Yep.
So that is telling you
Right.
that the
Yes.
privacy of the clickers does
Right,
matter.
right. I think I was
Yes.
gonna mention.
So I'm,
Right.
I sort of made the call on the fly that, okay, it's starting to get late. If we go to the voice votes now, it'll
Yeah.
probably be okay, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
Ask me how I feel the next time we have.
I
a
will
meeting.
say, I agree with Wayne, and I can tell you, a close family member, I won't say who, on a certain issue, I won't say what, was disappointed that it was a voice vote, because that person did not feel that he or she could say no to the issue, even though they
Oh.
felt that they wanted to say no. And even if it's gonna be overwhelming, some people feel like they wanna register their disapproval and, or approval, whichever way it is. And I think the clicker, the anonymity of the clicker. Now, does that run against this town meeting, of like everybody's in together and you have to get your fellow citizen to know what your opinion is? Maybe, but I think the anonymity of voting has helped. It makes it
Yeah.
a better vote.
I'll just make two quick FinCom-related comments to the items that you brought up. I have spoken with Wayne about it, but I like the idea of a 5 or 6 minute, like you mentioned the Concord does, State of the Financial Union. I think that it
Yes.
makes more sense. Right now, when I've done the presentation, more than half of it is State of the Financial Union. It doesn't have to do with the budget. But it's discussing Article 1, so it doesn't quite make sense. So I do think that that makes more sense, and it also gives a little more breathing room to kind of give the big picture, if you will. So I like that. It would shorten the budget. It would also, if the select board wanted to come up and discuss, it's not really appropriate on the budget because that's our budget that you've either supported or not. But if there's more of a financial state of the union, I think that makes sense. The other one I wanted to mention is one thing that FinCom is, as a goal for the summer, working with Ryan, is going to be to kind of codify our process in terms of dates and setting goals. And the way that we would do that is to work backwards from a set town meeting. So 90 days before town meeting, we are going to present X to the select board, or whatever it is. That's the way that we plan on implementing those checkpoints. So by setting an early date, knowing that it's May 15th, and we're gonna work backwards from that at the very beginning of our budget process, will be very helpful as well.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna be setting those dates.
Right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know that's on the agenda, isn't it?
May 2nd.
Yes, John.
There's one other issue that we discussed at the Council on Aging Human Service meeting today. As you know, it's been kind of percolating around City in the Woods. Is there's a group of seniors, and we're trying to evaluate, feel like their voices aren't being heard, and what that means. And we were talking about it, and part of it is just they're not coming to enough meetings and doing stuff and participating, so they don't understand stuff. But I think that is an important issue, and obviously part of this is around taxes, but there are more things than that. And somehow, and we at the COAHS have to figure out what to do with that and how to get more sense of participation of this 20-30% of the town that is support things and not that they're being neglected. And
They're
so,
not coming for physical reasons typically?
we don't know, and that we were talking about, you're not going to various meetings and things like that, and so we were talking about setting up a liaison, like they should be going to the school committee meetings, they should be going to things, so there's a process of understanding and it gets communicated. And instead, they're feeling isolated, at least a group, and again, we're trying to evaluate and figure this out, and I kind of look at numbers rather than sort of the process, but clearly this is a sense, and Rebecca, you know this, and so this is something I think we need to work on because it's a significant part of the population. We want to make them feel supportive of what's happening rather than being excluded. And there's a group that's sort of saying, hey, I don't like what's happening.
Yeah, you should tap Nancy. I mean, accessibility was one of the things we discussed. And
But this is more than town meeting.
I know, but broadly, how do you
Yes.
get people? Is it transportation to get
Right.
them there? Is it, how do you make it easier?
Right.
How do you make it easier if they have physical or cognitive disabilities to be participants?
But we want to be supportive of the school, all these
Sure.
other things.
Well, I think maybe if we're talking about closing the warrant early, right, and socializing those issues for a longer period of time, maybe that would give the opportunity to help and make that a special kind of initiative. So.
FinCom knows nobody comes to their.
Yeah, public hearing.
Right,
Like that.
yeah.
So let's, this is, have these meetings done all the work and nobody shows up.
Yeah.
Donuts, offer donuts and coffee, I don't know.
Well,
Well,
I think these last couple of comments bring us sort of back to what the overall approach of the committee was, which is to recognize town meeting, and particularly the annual town meeting, sort of feels like an event. But in fact, all it is the caboose of a train. It was a really long train, took off months and months before. And the more that people understand that if you really care about what's going to happen at town meeting, you need to pay attention and get engaged well before town meeting. I was personally, I didn't know whether to be horrified, appalled, or just totally amused that the day before, 6 days after town meeting, the day before the town election, when we're to vote on the bond overrides, a discussion blows up on City in the Woods about, what does all this mean for our taxes, and all sorts of financial analysis, which had they
Poorly informed.
had they looked at things that the FinCom had published 6 weeks before, they would have had their answers. But that is symptomatic of this lack of engagement.
Yeah.
And so the more that we can build awareness of, this town is just about as transparent as any town government that I'm aware of, and you know, kudos to Ryan and the rest of the staff to and the leadership of these two committees in particular. Huge progress has been done over the last couple of years, and people just we need to figure out how to make them more aware of it and how to tap that resource if they're interested.
Yeah.
Can I just say that the amount of work, not only for the volunteers who do the work needed to do town meeting, but also the outreach between the podcasts and the videos and the tours and the hearings and all of these things, a tremendous amount of work is being done by the volunteers to push information out. And I'll say, like, even something as top of mind as the fire station, you know, our tours, we have 2 or 3 people show up. And so, you know, and I don't think that's a lack of, you know, Aubrey's pushing all the buttons in terms of social media outreach. And so we need to continue to do all those things. But at the end of the day, it's also incumbent on the residents to receive that and engage. And so, yes, there's always more we can be doing, but we are doing a lot. And I just want to acknowledge the tremendous amount of work that goes into not only the work for the articles, but also the communication that we're pushing out for the articles. We're doing a ton.
You know, Christine, you asked about the last meeting, and I believe, and you and I spoke about this, I believe the quality of the debate this spring was better.
Yes.
Wasn't not a lot of stupid questions, like,
No.
you know, people had paid attention, those who showed up,
Yeah.
which is a
They
bias
paid attention,
sample,
yeah.
had paid attention
Yep.
to the prep work, and were focusing on the issues that needed deliberation, not so much the expository issues about, you know, that
Yeah.
they've got elsewhere. So I
And
think,
you know, I think back to the different points of view that we had, right? The fall town meeting where we were all debating MBTA. You know, the young man stood up, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what is he going to contribute to this conversation after we've been debating it for 5 hours? And he says, they're going to live in your basement if you don't. You know, I hadn't thought of that. So, okay.
MBTA was an example where it was actually resolved for the most part before this fall town meeting.
right, well, that
Because
would
of,
help.
because of all the pre-work, though, that was an
Yeah, that
interesting
was
case study where once we got to town meeting, the kind of air was out of the balloon, so to speak.
Yeah, but there were
Yes.
other reasons for that, but yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're running a little over on time, and we do want to get to actually scheduling.
We also have to vote on the committee, right? We're going to dissolve the committee?
We're dissolving the committee.
It's self-dissolved, I thought it.
There's a motion to accept the report and to dissolve the town meeting study committee. Do we want to make that motion? Okay. All right.
You're
I-
in forever.
Well, we would love for you to dissolve it. I don't know that you need to dissolve it, but you might want to actually have a copy of the report before you vote to
Well,
accept it.
you'll have it.
You'll have it.
Well, I see something in email. I haven't read through it. If we have any follow-up
gonna post it.
questions,
We're gonna
we know
post
who to
it.
talk to.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
do we want to move to, so why don't we, I move to accept the final report of the town meeting study committee. As the committee's work is complete, I further move to dissolve the town meeting study committee.
I second that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Any discussion? Deliberation? Okay. Let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it.
Go in peace.
Thank you very much for your work.
Thank you.
We're just gonna close our meeting, if you don't mind. and then-
Oh, we have to close our meeting, too.
Oh, go ahead. You guys, go ahead.
Motion to adjourn forever.
We have to do a.
Oh, we've
a
already
roll
been
call.
dissolved.
No,
You can't-
that's
Oh,
what
actually, you don't need to vote.
Not a
And
committee.
Victor's
Well,
off,
you
so
just
we don't
kinda
need to do-
disappear,
We
but-
don't need a roll call, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
He is on.
Second? Oh, is he on? Okay.
Town meeting schedule.
Thank you, Aaron. Roll call vote.
Bernstein,
Tachi, aye?
Oh, yeah.
Board?
Thank you.
Just a second.
Yes.
Take care.
Thank you all.
Thank you, David.
How's it going?
Good. So far, so good. Just trying to live up to your
Come on,
standard.
time here, like, you're already running
Yeah,
late.
yeah. I know.
Boss.
It's your fault.
Yeah, it's always when David's involved. It's always whenever we're doing David, we always say, all right, congratulations.
Thank you, David.
I'm gonna run.
Thanks for playing.
You sure you don't want to stay around for the dates?
We're going to set the dates.
Do you have,
November.
well, we have to
Well, we
talk
haven't
about
voted.
that.
Now we
whether
have to
a
take
fall
your-
meeting.
Is there
Don't tell
someone
my
sort
forgot
of
his
is the
name.
exact date?
Well, there wasn't until you presented.
Look what you walked into.
Okay, so for the fall, it has been proposed for November 16th. Is that right?
So that's the date that we gave you as staff if you want to push it back from where it is. And the two reasons why we're recommending that you do push it back is, one, and Julie's in the room so she can add more color, but the planning board has authorized Julie and Melissa through the historical commission to staff the demo delay bylaw effort, to add more staff time to the outreach and the finalizing of that process, to give it some more clarity, which we think as the staff it needs based on conversations that you've had. Additionally, the Bog House is in one of the situations where if you didn't have a fall town meeting, the land transfer discussion and vote, it probably doesn't have to happen in the fall, but it probably shouldn't wait until the spring in terms of the timing. So you could get away with not having the fall vote, but you shouldn't wait until the spring. So it puts us in a tough spot. So because of that, we are recommending that you push the original date of October, mid-October to November 16th. The reason why November 16th, the orchestra is there, and they're a big tenant of the school, and it would be a massive disruption to them and to the facilities to do it earlier, and then you run into Thanksgiving. So the 16th
Okay.
is literally the first and only day you could do it.
Okay.
in November.
Where are we at with Ferns? Is there any update? Because I know there's a potential need for a vote, depending on how things turn out with the perk testing, even prior to November, though.
There's a lot of speculative information I could share.
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
I had a conversation with them today. It wouldn't be bad to have a potential placeholder for something Ferns related in November, but
Okay.
I don't even know if that would be.
Okay, so you don't think there might need action before November?
No, but what we do think is that there would be demo delay bylaw, something with the Bog House and the Article 97 transfer, and then you would have a round of CPA requests at a minimum
Yeah.
if you had a fall town meeting.
Okay, so just to check though, one of the recommendations out of our esteemed town meeting committee was Monday night is not preferred. Sunday would be preferred. And Sunday is November 15th. So instead of November 16th.
Yeah.
I know you said it was for annual town meeting,
Yes.
but I have to say, I think those same truths hold for families in November, as, it's not just April or May. So could we possibly check on November 15th?
We did, and you can't.
We can or cannot?
You could, but you'd be competing with the orchestra. It'd be very loud.
Oh, I see. So okay, that's what you meant by the orchestra. The orchestra is practicing or what, playing or something?
Those are their performances in that time frame.
I see. Okay. So it really was November 16th. Okay.
It would be a hustle for us to get it ready, but that's really the only day.
It's also football season.
It's really my.
Yeah, that was part of the reason why we just focused on the annual, and we figured that there's so many different things come
Oh,
up with
yeah,
the
yeah.
special that
Yeah.
it was hard to make a generalized recommendation, and
Right.
there's never gonna be a perfect date for either of them, so
Right.
if it needs to be, my personal view is, if it needs to be Monday, then fine, put it Monday. The 6 o'clock start does seem to help, so, we can stick with that.
Okay.
Just looking at my notes, and I know I'm not trying to convince you here, but Diamond Park is also going to be the significant CPA ask
Right,
in a
mhm.
centerpiece presentation.
Right. Yeah, I have that in my notes. Okay. So what do we need to vote on a date, or what do we need to do for the date?
We wanted to bring it to you for your discussion.
Okay.
if you're
I
ready
don't
to-
see a motion, so,
We didn't want to be.
We
presumptive.
can move it. I mean, what, the other alternative was October 18th?
right, that's what we originally.
These are our, it's a
decided.
binary decision here.
But they're not gonna have the
Right.
demo.
They're not
So there's,
gonna-
it's not
Yeah.
so there's not really much debate or deliberation.
You're
It's
funneling us.
Pick-
the right
Yeah, we're
this
kind
date.
choose
Yeah.
from these
Have an
options of
objection.
one. So we may as well set that date,
Choose the
right?
start time. Yeah.
You don't have to have one either. This is just a recommendation we're making.
No, the issues are stacking up. We were trying to avoid it. What's that, Rebecca?
We could cancel it.
Yes, we can.
So
Yeah.
there's no reason not to set the date, and then
Right.
if we needed to, cancel it later.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if we are going to have a fall town meeting,
November 16th, sounds like.
yeah, so can we have a motion on that?
I move that we schedule a potential fall 2026 town meeting for November 16th at 6 PM in Corey Auditorium.
I'll
I'm
second.
sorry, Burley Auditorium.
I'll second.
Yeah.
Great, okay, thank you very much. Any discussion or deliberation?
I would just, one thing I would just mention, and I know Julie's on board with this if she's gonna be helping anyway, but one of the recommendations is that when there are bylaws on a warrant, that the full text of the proposed bylaw be there, that it's not just a placeholder in the warrant with
Oh,
language to come later, as we unfortunately were forced into a couple of times, and was, the last time demolition delay bylaw, it was a placeholder and they weren't able to finish. And my informal position is, which is, subject to change, but if the text isn't published in the warrant, I may conclude that there hasn't been sufficient notice to the town about what the changes are going to be. So
Okay.
that's incentive to the historical commission to finish up the bylaw language early
That's a good idea,
if they want to have a town meeting vote.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, where did we leave off?
That was
That was the
deliberation.
deliberation, any other deliberation?
I think the point is we need to quickly set some of those key deadlines, because we've talked about the same
Yes.
thing of needing to get hard deadlines in for some of these, because last go around it was, things were changing up until the last minute, then people pull the articles, and then you're left with a,
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Okay. Let's take a vote. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay, the ayes have it. And I think that is fall town meeting and then the 2027 annual town meeting date. We had a.
Quickly, before we move, is there a date where we would, for the warrant, that we could, like, you said it needs to be in the published warrant?
So
It-
you need 2 weeks to publish a warrant, but
Okay.
typically we do a month. So
Okay.
your meeting on October 13th would be a good.
So October 13th, I mean, informally, people should know, like, pencils down for bylaws on October 13th or thereabouts.
That's right. And part of the reason that when we were trying to do regular fall town meetings that it didn't really take was people would disappear for the summer and then they didn't really get started until mid to late September, and
Right.
that's way too late
No,
for.
no, yeah.
So coming out of this meeting, that 16th means you need to be done the first half of October with all your language, approved legally, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, turning our attention to 2027 annual town meeting date, it has been suggested for May 17th, which is also a Monday.
No,
That was just,
Just throwing it out there.
yeah,
same date you did this year, but Concord's already set that date. Which leads me to another recommendation too, that
Okay.
I do strongly suggest that you make town meeting a date every
Yes,
year and not,
Right, that's what we were, during the
not something that you set
discussion.
every year.
Like the first Sunday of every month is what I just
right.
hypothetically proposed.
Of May?
Of
Or
May,
April?
sorry, May, or of April. I don't, you guys were kind of
We
all
get through 'em
over on
quickly.
April, May.
You have 12 town meetings.
Well, historically, it used to be like it used to be April for many years.
Okay,
And then with COVID, we moved back to June, and then for reasons,
so look at the span between November and April, though. I feel like we're gonna be like back to back.
Yeah.
That's, and with the holidays, I don't know, that's a super quick turn for people if they're shaping up before annual town meeting.
Can I ask the town administrator, so why did you come to the conclusion it should be a set, like the first Sunday? Because sometimes you need that flexibility.
There's 2 reasons why I'm recommending it. So this comes from my work in other communities. The set date allows your staff to help your boards and committees to create schedules with some consistency. And also, because we've been driving the multifunctional use of all of our properties, like the school is completely stressed in their facilities use, which is a good thing, in the Burley Auditorium. So, by the time we decide to set a town meeting, you're kind of pushed to like, this is the date you can have. If you set the date, I think it's easier to amend it, but that's reserves that date for you to have.
Okay.
And then it allows everyone to plan, including myself, the FinCom and budgets, back plan, so that you have everything you need to make those decisions.
I would just ask that we are making sure, if we're gonna do that kind of thing, that we're taking into account religious holidays that might fall on the date and shift. So that's my only concern about just saying the first Sunday in May or whatever.
Right, mm-hmm. That's a good consideration.
Orthodox Easter is
Easter's early, March.
I have Orthodox Easter popping up on my.
Mm. And I think depending on the year, you'll get Jewish holidays. that
Yep.
just change.
Passover.
Okay.
First, anyway.
Okay.
The second reason is,
Yeah.
the second reason is what the study committee was talking about is the more consistent it is, the more people know when to look for it, the more likely you are to get participation.
Right.
So if they know the budget comes out at this time of year, they'll look for it. If it comes out scattershot, then there are some people who will be like, oh, that came out or didn't, or when does that come out? And I do think that takes maybe even a generation to cement, but in some towns, it's known when these things happen.
Right.
I think that drives you to the first weekend in May, because April is, the school break shifts around, and like, it'd be hard to say like the third or the final Sunday in April, because sometimes that's school break, you have Easter, you have Jewish holiday, you have all these holidays, and it's putting you kind of into that first weekend in May. And then the second weekend is usually Mother's Day, so then it's like, quickly your options narrow.
We can
Right.
always amend it.
Yeah.
If we determine there's a.
But I mean, if you want to say like, it's this, typically, it would probably be like the first weekend in May.
Yeah.
The second weekend is Mother's Day.
Yeah.
The third weekend, we're getting late and we're in all these
Graduations.
conflicts. And April's school breaks shifting around. That's 2 weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
So can we tentatively say, so when you proposed, Ryan, May 17th, that's not because you'd already put some rigor to the, scheduling or anything. That's just that.
It was I thought it was the best day, but
Oh,
so did
okay.
Concord. 'Cause it
Oh,
was-
yeah. Okay, so can we look at tentatively Sunday, May 2nd then? 2027?
Yes, May 2nd is, I'm in 26, sorry. Just lost the summer and the winter, yep, Sunday, May 2nd.
Okay.
Orthodox Easter.
It's Orthodox Easter.
Which I don't
I
know what.
I don't know what our population is that is observant to that.
Greek too.
Pasha, yeah. I don't know.
I don't think there's ever going to be a good day
No.
that 100% of the population can accommodate.
No, so why don't we put that in as a placeholder, and then if we need to modify it for some reason, we can.
Yeah.
But we're
Mhm.
11 months out, we're 10 months out, it's a pretty good start.
Yeah.
Unless there's some school conflict that's known at this point. No.
I mean, Sundays are gonna be tougher with these religious conflicts in general, but.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. At what time? We're gonna say just Sunday and then. we'll
Wayne, what
set
time
the
were you saying in the afternoons?
I think the 1 o'clock start is.
1 o'clock start,
Tends to be
okay.
a good time.
Do we need to vote on that, or do you want to research it and get back to us?
Yep, that's good, we'll schedule it.
Okay.
And then work the dates back and the various processes, like for FinCom and all that.
Yep.
Why didn't we like the 16th again? I'm sorry. Too late?
It's really late.
So Concord Town Meeting starts on the 17th. There's a world where you'd have 2 days and you'd run into Concord's meeting.
You don't wanna.
You start to get into college graduations too, that's what we ran into last time, and nicer weather. I'd say maybe, no, I would say
I know,
anything
yes.
you wanna go back into April
Okay.
pre-break, like the 11th.
And we did this year late to give as much time as possible for the fire station, to try to get the fire station. So we intentionally pushed this past one as late as we thought was viable.
Yeah.
That wasn't intended to be a recurring practice.
What do you think, Rebecca?
I just have a hard time because I think they're like, I don't know here in Carlisle, but I know at least I have 2 friends that celebrate Orthodox Easter, so
Oh.
I know it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Would so like on the holiday would preclude them from coming to a town election that afternoon?
town meeting, I think probably
meeting.
it's like
That's not
dinner
how-
with family and
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, I
And
gotcha.
plus
Yeah.
church in the morning, I would guess
Okay.
so. And yeah, travel to have family
Is
gatherings.
Saturday any better? No.
I don't know.
Saturday's
Saturdays are
murder. Okay.
awful.
Okay.
This is a problem,
Yeah, this is-
an
yeah.
increased problem with Sundays, right? You have more religious events typically.
So why don't we go ahead and, I don't want to discuss this anymore
Yeah.
because we're running way
Yeah.
over and we have our
Second or
MVP
third?
discussion coming up. So why don't we go ahead and, Ryan, research that if that's, the date that really looks the best, schedule it. Okay.
Then we have to vote it by the next meeting or something.
Yeah, let's just preclude, and is there any other, except for the holiday, is that it?
So the other one was going back far to April 11th. That's the other date.
April 11th?
Yeah,
What is
which is really
school
early.
break?
So
It would not conflict.
it would not be that early, that's true. So April 11th, May 2nd, which is the better option. Okay, let's go ahead and move on, because we are 12 minutes behind schedule. Okay, so item 5, our MVP presentation. Oh, we do have a hand up from Christina. Christina, yes?
Celebrates Orthodox
She
Easter.
would, yes.
There you go.
We have
Thank you. I just FYI that Route to Sustainability Day has now sort of shifted to a Sunday, the first Sunday in May, so that it doesn't overlap with school vacation.
My Monday town meetings are ultimately.
So
What happened to Earth Day, Christina? Earth
I'm
Day.
sorry?
What happened to Earth Day?
That's
Earth Day coincides with school vacation, and we're
Oh.
trying to engage more students and parents.
right.
And so that's why we've shifted it to the first Sunday in May. And it seemed to work a lot better this year. Just figured I'd, throw another little wrench in the whole discussion.
I like Mondays.
Okay,
Yeah, thanks.
uh-huh. Okay.
I swear I didn't set that up.
Yeah.
That's why you want to set the date as early as possible.
Right.
First mover advantage. All right.
Okay, MVP, Julie,
Hi.
thank you for joining us.
Let me
Julie.
Sorry we're running late.
And then let me screen share, please.
Hopefully a
Presentation.
less controversial topic you get to present to us.
Hopefully. I don't know. TBD. So,
Should be good.
okay, great. Let me just get my. Just see what I can do here. Some of you were on the select board when the MVP Climate Resilient Carlisle project came around a couple times with consultant Horsley Witten. Let me just see if I can get this to show a presenter view. Hold on. There we go. Is that gonna work? Yes. Okay. So tonight I'm here to talk to you about the MVP process here in Carlisle and to hopefully get your support for the report and the recommendations such that you would incorporate the recommendations into your goal setting discussions. I was going to start with a little background on MVP, like what it is at the state and local level, like really quick, and then transition into the Climate Resilient Carlisle kind of report, if that makes sense to you. But if you all are really familiar and don't want the background, just let me know. Okay, I'll try to be quick. So MVP stands for Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness. It's a program of the EOEEA, which is the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. It started in 2017 and it helps communities build resilience to climate change. They offer planning grants and action grants. In 2020, Carlisle received a planning grant and did the community resilience building process. That's required locally if a town wants to become eligible for action grants. So 2020, 2021, that process happened. That was before my time here, so some of you may have been involved in it and know more about it, but I'm just going to try to kind of give a quick overview of what the goal was. the community came together and discussed the strengths, vulnerabilities, and opportunities in the present and the future related to a focus on infrastructure, society, and the environment. And I don't know why my slide keeps advancing when I'm not touching my computer. Must be magic. But anyway, so in 2021, the culmination of that process was the Carlisle MVP report that was submitted to the state, and that made the town eligible for action grants. So fast forward to 2022, 2023, I came to work for the town. The planning board was interested in applying for an action grant. So we did apply, and we received a grant that would enable us to ratify the prior community resilience building effort, strategically tie that effort to the master plan and other prioritized work plans that were happening around town, make sure to include feedback from a wide range of boards and committees, and involve staff who may have previously been siloed, so really sort of building capacity in town hall. And again, what is happening?
You're on a timer.
Oh, did I do that to myself?
Could be built into the deck.
Well, I did not intend for that, so maybe I should just talk faster. Okay. And the goal would be to create a roadmap for implementation, basically ratifying the prior discussions. Okay, now I'm faster than the slide. Okay, so in 2024, the MVP Core Committee was established. It included a lot of different staff and board representatives. We hired Horsley Witten Group as the consultant lead on the project. In February, we had a community forum and kicked off the project. In spring, we did deep dive meetings with many different boards and committees in town to kind of like understand the priorities locally. In the summer, Horsley Witten revealed their preliminary findings, which yielded 6 major themes. And then in the fall, we did circle back meetings with the boards and committees to just figure out, are we forgetting anything? What are we missing? Like, is this really the direction we want to go in? Do you guys all agree with these preliminary findings? Okay, I'm talking really fast. In the winter of 2025, we concluded the circle back meetings. In the spring, a draft report came out. We did a community-wide survey. There was a postcard that went to all households in town announcing that survey. And then in June, the Climate Resilient Carlisle report was released, and the MVP Core Committee started to transition towards implementation of the recommendations in the report. So this is just a summary of the planning effort. I'm just going to skip past this, but there was a lot of work involved in this process. And so now moving forward to what is Climate Resilient Carlisle? I feel like I'm on. Okay, so it's kind of fun. I like the challenge. Okay, so basically it was a project to protect what we love about Carlisle by preparing for the impacts of climate change, with goals and recommendations rooted in Carlisle's values, and that would be local and realistic. Okay, so there were 6 themes and 20 recommendations. My plan is to quickly go through the 6 themes and then note kind of one recommendation that fit into each theme. And you guys can get the bigger picture by actually reading the report, which has all of the recommendations. So first, I'm going to start by just noting that all of the recommendations are tied to a toolkit for action. So changing local zoning is not always going to fix everything because the town changes slowly over time. So zoning isn't always the tool. There's policies, there's GIS, there's education and outreach, there's different town initiatives and programs. So the report kind of identifies recommendations and then identifies lead boards and committees and the different pieces of the toolkit that would be utilized to implement the recommendations. Okay. So theme 1 is eco-landscapes. Let me just give you a little information. So we started with eco-landscapes because they form the foundation of our water systems, biodiversity, carbon storage, and flood prevention. We need to protect or restore natural systems to protect homes and people. These are the key actions, so ensuring open spaces are valuable and connected, encouraging resilient landscaping practices, and preserving trees, both public and private. And the action that I'm going to delve into tonight is creating valuable connected open space. So we currently have some zoning bylaws that, like the conservation cluster and residential open space community, that require a portion of the property be preserved as open space in perpetuity. That open space, like the language in those bylaws isn't really that tight or that strong, so the goal would be to look at zoning and strengthen the language around open space so that it creates meaningful wildlife habitat, connects to existing natural areas, extends habitats, and just like achieves more of the goals of why we want to have open space in town. And that would, let's see, so it's good planning, it supports flood mitigation, water quality, and biodiversity protection. So, okay, theme 2, fire protection. Give a little quick overview of this for you. So Carlisle is 70% forested. It's a great asset, but also a huge vulnerability. Our development pattern with large homes tucked into mature forests is classic wildland urban interface, or WUI, which is where fire risk tends to spike. So the key actions that are recommended in the report for fire protection are developing forest management plans with landowners, educating homeowners on the wildfire risk and mitigation that they can do in their own properties, promoting safety for battery-powered technologies, and mapping, analyzing, and expanding firefighting water sources. So the action that I'm going to talk about tonight is related to education for homeowners on wildfire risk and ways they can mitigate. This includes things like safe vegetation placement around the property, using fire-resistant building materials. If you have battery-operated technology, like an EV or an electric scooter or batteries storage, basically alerting the fire department, they can have a registry, map it, and then if there's an issue at the property, when dispatch goes out, they know that that's on the property. And then when they get there, there could be a sticker program actually that identifies like where that is. So because they require different types of fire suppression methods, and they burn a lot hotter. So they're a risk for our firefighters. So that's kind of like, you might remember the Tot Finder program. I actually remember it. I was alive during that. We had those on my windows at my house. So it'd be a similar kind of idea, like battery inside this room, right? Okay. And then there's also this idea of like request a coach. So it comes from the Heat Smart Alliance, and people can recommend that a trained volunteer come to their home and give them custom advice on how to reduce fire risk around their property. So that's something the fire department is interested in trying to implement in town. All right, so theme 3, floods, wetlands, and drainage. This is a fast-moving, high-stakes topic. About 20% of Carlisle's land area is in a flood hazard district. We've also got a lot of wetlands, ponds, roadside swales, and private wells and septic systems. So there are 3 key actions: expanding the floodplain in the local code, enhancing wetlands protection, and clarifying ownership and maintenance of roadside ditches. So the wetlands protection one is the one I'm going to talk about because the Conservation Commission is actively looking to update their wetlands bylaw. I think they got some feedback from town council that they're going to digest in the next couple months with the hope to bring something to maybe next spring town meeting. That's the update I got today. But there are things we can do, like have a local wetlands buffer so that we're not just reliant on the state regulations. We could actually have some stronger regulations locally, additional flood storage requirements, stormwater management that applies to smaller projects. So there's a variety of things, and the ConsCom is looking at all of them. Okay, so theme 4, housing and buildings. So this one addresses ways to mitigate the environmental footprint and carbon emissions from existing structures. Key actions related to this are retrofitting historic structures while preserving historic value. So allowing people who own historic structures to retrofit for climate adaptation in a way that still preserves historic value. Reusing structures and materials to reduce carbon emissions. Reducing environmental footprint of large homes and yards. And so in this one, there's a few initiatives locally that are underway that I wanted to highlight. So we have the bog house conversion, which is a reuse, an adaptive reuse of an existing historic structure. The planning board is discussing an update to the distinctive structures bylaw, which to expand adaptive reuse options for structures that were constructed prior to 1932. And then the Historical Commission is looking at a demolition review bylaw that would include language incentivizing deconstruction as an option for having a demolition delay released earlier than the 12-month period. So those are some things that are underway. And then the language in the demolition review bylaw contemplates promoting salvage and reuse of materials similar to what happened with the Greeno Barn property, which I have a picture here on the screen. So that's a local a local example of a great outcome. Okay, all right, so theme 5, infrastructure. So part of this resilience conversation is interesting because it involves things that are underground and invisible, right? Like your septic systems and your wells, things that are above ground and taken for granted, right? Like roads, culverts, and catch basins, and then the things in between, like electrical, right? But these are all things that Carlisle residents rely on every day. So it's important that all the systems are considered in terms of climate adaptation because they are under threat from climate change. So the key actions in this theme are evaluating problem areas for power outages and considering whether it might make sense to try to underground in some locations, although that is very costly. Clarifying implications of local septic and well standards, exploring a septic system utility for long-term maintenance, and investing through capital and grants in maintenance and repair of roads, culverts, and catch basins. And we did just, I can't say we because I didn't really do it, but Ryan and Sarah just applied for an MVP action grant actually for design work for 4 of our most vulnerable culverts in town. So hopefully.
Number 3, what does that mean?
That's the one I'm going to talk about,
okay.
actually. So,
Like
yeah.
municipal utility or?
So a septic utility basically would be a third-party entity that would oversee and manage the inspections, maintenance, and of the private septics throughout town, right? So people are concerned that septic systems aren't being maintained and could be leaching into the groundwater where we get our drinking water from, right? So a septic utility kind of takes that fear away by like having a third-party entity really be responsible for overseeing local septic systems. They wouldn't own them. They would just like communicate with homeowners, identify emerging risks, remind homeowners about inspections and pump outs. There would be a database. There could be a lot of data gathered that could support other efforts in town. It's the kind of thing, like I used to work in a town with a stormwater utility. So the stormwater utility worked in like maybe a similar way where each homeowner paid the amount of their property frontage on the public street was what they contributed to the stormwater utility, and then the town would go in and kind of maintain the stormwater infrastructure for them. So you're not relying on individual homeowners to remember to maintain important utility infrastructure on their property.
And that's something the town would contract with a utility and fund through the tax base? Like, how do those normally work?
So
Is
I
grant funded
am
or-
not the expert on this, and we would need to dig into this a
Right.
little bit more, but my understanding is we could start slowly, like a pilot project, kind of see if there are homeowners that want to participate and try to build it from there. So it's something to just put a pin in for the future. And this is the reason I show this one is because a lot of the things I've shown before are things that like the town is already kind of working on, and this is something that would be more of a long-term recommendation that would involve considerable discussion. It'd be a whole new kind of model. There are towns in the state that are doing it, and there are largely towns that are entirely reliant on septic systems for wastewater management. So,
Like us.
yeah. So more on that. Definitely, I can like try to answer your questions offline too. And then theme 6 is the last theme, social resilience. I just want to make sure I say the things I should say. So this theme gets to the heart of the matter, right? This theme is about people, right? So resilience is hyper-local. It's about neighbors helping neighbors, right? And being there and providing assistance and support when things go wrong. So there are a couple actions under this. The first one is exploring housing options to support family and social connections balanced with ecological impacts. And then the second one is cultivating community and social connections. The one I'm going to focus on is this picture of an ADU in Concord. 92% of Carlisle's housing stock is single-family homes. Most have 3 or more bedrooms. Many have 4 or more. This doesn't work for everybody. Carlisle has an aging population as well. Many residents are looking for one-floor living, smaller homes, walkable access to service and neighbors. Again, proximity to neighbors can be the most important thing if we have like a climate disaster. So this involves like some zoning changes. There were some last year, right, for the ADU bylaw to align with the state, so that kind of helps with this, right? But additional zoning changes that deal with designing neighborhoods for accessibility and connection, smaller homes, clustering, to help people stay connected, which ultimately is a form of social resilience. So this is also aligned with Carlisle's housing plan and master plan.
Julie, on your last slide,
Sure.
There was the one right before this. Explore housing options to support family and social connections, balance with ecological impacts. What is, just so I understand, because it's kind of broad.
Right.
Is that saying, like, we want to look at expanding housing options, but we want to look at the ecological impacts of if we have too many houses? I'm trying to understand, I mean, because
Yeah, this
it
is
could
my
mean
awkward
anything.
way of saying it's not just going to be runaway density, right? Like it's
Okay.
going to have to be a balance of all things, right?
Okay.
Especially in a town that cares so deeply about open space protection and also is reliant on septic and well. So,
Okay.
yeah, does that answer your question? Okay. So, that is the quick and dirty presentation.
That was good.
Questions? Sure. That was really,
So there's a lot of big
yeah.
things in here,
Yeah.
right? And I'm sure if you go through them all, they all make sense. You're like, that sounds good, that sounds good. Then there's the lens of what's practical, what's the bang for your buck, what's tactical. And is it kind of, so do we view this kind of like the master plan of like, here are our goals, and then as each respective committee looks at its goals, you know, we kind of map them to different things, and you take some of these big ideas and you translate it into prioritization and a specific tactical plan.
Yeah, so one of the things about this is like it really does tie into a lot of things that are already kind of outlined in the master plan, and the process was a ratification of conversations that have happened over a long period of time. There are, of course, a couple new ideas in here, right? Like the septic utility is kind of a new idea. But the planning board did vote to support this. The MVP core committee was one of their, I guess, subcommittees you would call it, or one of their, they were the parent committee of this committee, right? So they are building it into their goal setting as well. The recommendations that are in this, that where they're listed as the lead entity or a major contributing entity, they're building it into their goal setting process. So I was kind of imagining a similar thing could happen.
Because I don't know where to begin, like,
Well,
in terms of, so for example, we know from working on the fire station, like forest fires are like one of the biggest threats to Carlisle. So you could say, we're gonna spend $50 million building culverts at every particular location, but it's not practical and we have to prioritize that. We're going into a goal setting session in July, and I'm just trying to think about how do we, go
Can I
ahead, Travis.
interject? And so would you mind putting that presentation back up in your 5 or 6 major themes that you?
Yeah, and I was actually, we do have an implementation matrix actually that the core committee made that kind of.
On the, so I was gonna suggest if it's goal setting, again, it's like the master plan, where you have all of these different competing things. In this case, they're not really competing, but they are competing for our time relative to those themes. And I'd love to tackle all of those simultaneously, but I don't think the town, you know, or at least the select board has the, you know, bandwidth to tackle everything. So it's almost like we have to prioritize for, at least for a year's goal, and give our staff kind of the direction of these are the priority, or we take those from the boards, as you were saying, Scott, but we're still gonna have to decide from the board standpoint
Yeah.
relative to our budget and what we think are town priorities. So
I think we're kind of doing, like, in the case of fire protection, like, we've kind of said, we're gonna support this fire station because we want to maintain volunteer, we want the level of fire response, and then you defer to the fire department to say, here's a particular program to educate. So I feel like we've kind of ad hoc done that to some extent with fire protection. These other ones, some of them, we have infrastructure with culverts and drainage and all this other stuff.
But Scott, for fire protection, you know, you said, well, we've kind of done that, we have, but we've got, you know, as the chief would say, well, we could do a lot more of education outreach on.
But that's where we
And so do we want to channel our resources and say, that's really important and we should focus on that, or not?
Well, I think the chief should be, like, he should be getting this presentation, and he should be like, yeah, let's do the because I know, like, battery is an important thing. So I think each of these departments, yeah.
The chief was on the committee.
I don't think we can set high level goals, but I think we do need the different departments to bring recommendations.
So I think that some of these organically align with what the select board was going to discuss as part of our goals,
Yeah.
right? And then some of these might be better delegated to other committees and boards.
Right.
So,
Like the
yeah.
septic thing, like,
Yeah.
who should look into that? Is that planning board? Like, where does that live?
So we,
Okay.
we do, so just, so the fire chief was heavily involved in this, he was on the
Yeah.
MVP core committee, as were, and I should have had a slide for this, but we had someone from conservation, health, fire, DPW, sustainability, Ryan, me, like planning, I'm forgetting, but ESC members were very involved, and we came up with this matrix, and we had identified, we worked with Horsley Witten to identify the lead entities, supporting entities, and then also timeframes. So the yellow ones that are highlighted over on the right are either initiated or in progress in some fashion, and this spreadsheet kind of extends out with lots of notes, but
that's good information.
this is, yeah, and then we have,
Do you have select board next to, I mean, I guess maybe our job is to figure out what our name is next to.
there are a few
Okay.
related to infrastructure, and so you guys could agree or disagree and let us know.
Okay.
So
That's, you
that's
guys have done
helpful.
the hard work of doling it
Yeah.
out. That's great.
And then I
Okay.
did separate out the 2026 ones.
What's
'cause
good?
the-
What?
Well,
Court
again,
committee
I'm
to
saying
talk about
they're all important in their
Yeah.
own way, but you don't have physically the time or resources to
No.
focus on everything.
Mhm.
So I think someone needs to take some leadership of giving direction to people, and you're right, maybe organically it just happens, but maybe not.
Well,
But
I
this
think
is
their leading entity column kind of assigns out who should
Or-
logically have the action. And
Did you work with those entities to identify them?
Yes, yes.
And then it's a suggestion for the few that are assigned to the select board. We will absolutely consider those when we're setting our goals. I think it's July 7th that we decided on. So,
And is there any process by which, like, I don't know if there's like an MVP, like an annual meeting or something where we just, because we got all these lenses, master plan, MVP, like, it's helpful to have this, something like this where annually you have, like, we have our select board goals, some of them align with MVP goals, MVP's got its own goals, just this annual kind of check-in and goal-setting process that just becomes codified, so we know that these big ideas are actually being translated into action, and that this work is happening, right? Because we can't oversee all these different elements, but I do think we have an obligation to make sure that it is happening, and something like this is a great tool.
yeah. Yeah, agreed.
So the select board is, like you've identified, the overall executive of the town. But you have committees and
Yeah.
staff that do all of these functions. What I would suggest is you meet with them and ask them. A great example is Aubrey and I went to the COHS meeting today, and they were talking about that last item, number 6, social isolation, and what they can do in order to create more connection. They don't use the MVP language, but it would be great for that committee to have a charge to say, read this report and come back to us with what you think your ideas would be. Because it would engage them, it would allow them to do that work, and then you get a report back on some actions that could be taken, like housing options and other things that allow you to communicate better to the public why you're focusing on X or Y issue, not because it's a fringe issue, but because it aligns with all of these different goals. The fire chief's another example. He works for you, so if you said, give us a presentation on our vulnerabilities in terms of water access for firefighting, then I think you would have a better idea of where to invest capital. Because he's been talking about it, but it's not necessarily in the capital plan, because there's other priorities. But a big talking point for the DPW was the cistern and its ability to help that building in that area, and that does meet this plan, but it's not necessarily talked about that way. It's talked about individually, and it should be talked about holistically. So as you bring these boards in, you might have talking points from the master plan, from this, that say, what have you been doing here? What should we know?
We need
That's
to
what we meant
balance
about tying it to your
we need
goals.
to balance those vulnerability planning with immediate needs and all the other things we deal with.
Yeah.
And so
And-
that's, I think, where the trick comes in.
And I'll be candid, you have some advisory groups that are working on what they think they should be working on, for good or bad. And you should be checking to make sure they're aligned with
Yeah.
your goals and this. Most of them are, I'm not saying like there's a ton of rogue boards out there. But if you think that fire protection is the town's #1 issue, then, most of your advisory boards should be considering it
Right.
as a goal.
And that's what I was kind of suggesting, is that you almost have to prioritize some of those
Yeah.
within that, because we want boards to focus on what we think should be priorities.
Right.
Okay,
There's a comment from Christina.
Looks like there's a comment.
comment from Christina.
Hi, thank you. I was part of the MVP core
Yeah, Christina,
committee.
can you introduce yourself?
I'm so sorry. Christina Crisotolopoulos, co-chair of the Environmental Sustainability Committee, Highland, not Highland, oh my gosh, that's my previous address, Hemlock Hill Road. Thank you. So just one thing that kept coming up during the process was the concept of balance, because these goals can be competing if they are addressed in a vacuum. Because addressing just one of the recommendations could negatively impact, if it's only addressed in a vacuum, could negatively impact some of the other recommendations. And so one of the difficulties we had was trying to figure out how to balance everything. And so I just wanted to convey that in your goal setting, in priority setting, that it's sort of important to not just focus on one thing without taking into consideration how it impacts some of the other recommendations. And there's no easy answer for that, other than keeping the big picture in mind with all decisions in relation to the MVP. So just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina.
This is grant valuable too, so we took a big swing at MVP, and the grant we applied for was $600,000 for
Oh,
COVID.
excellent.
So it's
Okay.
not small.
Excellent.
The MVP access to funding.
Right. But
But
again,
like-
we'll have to decide where that goes.
Yeah.
So the top goal of the MVP plan is to secure funding for
Yeah.
for MVP
Correct.
action.
That's how we get you to talk about it. This is money.
That's a good
Okay,
goal.
is there anything else on this topic? Are we,
There was a motion, I don't know,
motion?
to, what was it, endorse, I'm not, what does that mean? Does that, we don't have to formally accept it, is that correct?
Right.
You just want us to.
Like acknowledgement that you support the work that was done, the report, the recommendations, and we'll
Okay.
build it into your goal setting framework.
Great.
And it does dovetail a lot with like the master plan, housing plan,
Yes, it
open
does.
space plan, like there's a lot of overlap.
Okay, thank you, Julie.
Sure.
Can we get a motion?
Do we need a motion I mean, I think we can just bake this into our goal setting, because like when we say move to endorse the final report and recommendations, I don't know that I'm ready to endorse like recommendations, right? I would just say, maybe tonight we just, yes, we endorse this work, we wanna build it into our goal setting, and I think that's probably enough.
So we will endeavor to incorporate these into our, into our goal setting. And yeah, okay, that makes sense, but no motion necessary.
I don't think we need do we need anything from a grant standpoint that's official?
No, not from my perspective for this grant.
Yeah, but my comment is the town brought all of its different interests and entities into this plan. So there is no board or committee that's going to agree with all the recommendations.
Right.
What we're trying to get you to do is to see holistically the various recommendations here and how they all interconnect. Because you're not the only board that's gonna say, well, we're not sure yet if we wanna endorse this, but we are asking you to engage with it.
Okay.
So how about, maybe I take a run at a motion that's a little bit different. I move, like, what if we said I move to endorse the MVP preparedness final reports and the goals identified within that report?
How is that different than the recommendation?
What's that?
How is that different than the recommendation?
Well, the
That might
goals,
even be stronger.
to me, recommendations are specific tactics. Like, it's that whole spreadsheet, right? And I don't know that we would endorse every specific.
I like the work that's been done. I'm
Yeah.
not.
No, I know.
Okay.
But I mean, do we want to endorse the report itself or no?
No, I'm happy endorsing the report. I mean, I think we paid for it, and I think we got our money's worth, more so.
Well, it was grant funded.
It was grant
We got our
funded,
money's
so
worth.
excellent.
It was good.
So do we not want a motion then? Or do we want a motion just to endorse?
Let's do a motion to have a formal endorsement.
Okay, I move that we endorse the municipal vulnerability preparedness final report.
I'll second.
Thank you, Rebecca. Any discussion or deliberation? Okay, let's go ahead and take a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay, and the ayes have it. Thank you very much for your
Thank you
time,
very
Julie.
much.
Lots of good work there.
Will this be ongoing? I mean, like the
Yes.
MVP, okay.
So the implementation committee is gonna meet periodically. The
Okay.
MVP core committee was disbanded by the planning board so that we could transition to implementation.
Okay.
And then we will meet periodically, and then we report to the state once a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would be good for us to get,
Yeah.
And just want to acknowledge the work,
Yeah.
staff and volunteer work that went into this, and it wasn't always pretty, right? It was
No.
it was a very energetic discussion about a lot of these difficult topics,
Right.
like most of the important things in Carlisle. So I suggest or recommend that everybody read the report, not just the select board, but it is a compromise document that is trying to address what could be the strongest vulnerabilities of the town. It's a 20-year document, like the master plan, and it's a lot of good stuff in there.
and it is bringing grants into Carlisle too. Like
Yeah.
it is allowing,
Yes.
which is important for people to understand. This isn't just a academic thing that's on a shelf. This actually is benefiting the town financially too.
Yep.
And the things that make Carlisle great are also the things that make it the most
Vulnerable. Yeah.
So,
Great.
Thank you again,
All right,
Julie.
yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, the next topic on our agenda is item 6, notice of intent to sell land, classified under MGL 61, Section 8, right of first refusal. And there's no sponsoring entity, and if we were to pursue this right, we have no money to actually buy it. So I might, in my mind anyway, I'm shaping up to one pretty easy vote, but everyone, tell me what you think. Do we have any discussion on this point?
Is there any other commentary?
so for background, the state allows through law, which have been adopted by the town, certain exemptions for property use, and this was one of them, 61 Section 8. So in exchange for preserving or using a land in a certain way, the town charges less taxes to that resident. The benefit to the town is if that protected land comes for sale or they try to put it into a different use, then you get the right to buy it first. So that's what this is.
Okay.
I will say we've had a lot of conversations about land. The best way to purchase land is to get way ahead of the actual
Yes.
sale of it, because you're now in a situation where in order to buy this piece of land, you would need to call a special town meeting before your fall town meeting.
Yes.
And I'm,
So sorry, Travis, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, this piece of property came up during the MBTA discussions, as you may recall, right? And the owner spoke, I think, in this very room, if I recall, and said that, he was wanting it to be the piece of land designated and, was ready to sell to a developer. But I think that's the first and last I've heard on this piece of property. I did take the pulse of some communities or committees in town and asked if anyone had any designs on this piece of property, and I got a bunch of no's. So again, no sponsoring entity, no funding set aside. We're not prepared for this. I feel like it would be a distraction. What were you gonna say, Travis?
I was going to say that over the years on the select board, there are parcels that come up from time to
Yeah.
time, and it tends to be this type of reactive situation. And so jumping ahead to our goal-setting session, I think it's going to be important for the select board and for the town to make sure we understand the parcels. And I think the planning board may have already done this at some point, or we have, but prioritizing the parcels that the town is interested in, especially the interconnectedness of those, so maybe we'll get to a goal or something of really focusing on getting our staff and committees to focus on that.
Yeah.
So that we're ahead of the game and we know what we would, as a town, like to try to acquire someday if it becomes available rather than reactive.
Yeah. And Ryan, we have no budget line item for this sort of thing, right?
no.
Yeah. I don't think there's any hidden funds somewhere.
Yeah, just to add to Travis's comment, the open space and recreation plan does identify and prioritize land for that purpose. We've made recommendations to the CHT before that they should try to proactively identify potential affordable housing parcels. But, you know, you're talking lots of money here to buy. Mechanically, if you are interested, we need to act pretty fast, and you need to direct us to do so. And if you're not, it would be, I don't know how else to say it, it would be mean to hold it up.
Yeah.
Right, so, we don't wanna presume that you do wanna buy it or you don't, but if you definitely don't, it would be good to tell them so that they can move on.
Yep.
But what we're talking about here is identifying pieces in the future that it would, as Travis said, it would be less reactive. Oh, this is up and it's out of chapter land, great, we can now do something.
Right.
And that's, again, like we just talked about with MVP, it's a coordinated, you know, effort among different constituencies in town. You know, it can be affordable housing, it could be recreation. I mean, there's a lot of considerations. So.
Right, yeah. Okay, any other deliberation? Rebecca, what do you feel about this?
Let's buy it.
I know, right?
Yes,
I'm like,
that's how I feel.
wait, it's 14 acres. Somebody said to me at some point, maybe those kinds of parcels will come up for sale someday.
Yes.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Anyway, no, I don't have any.
So I think the best thing to hope for would be a developer, you know, if you're in favor of, you know, more housing and more diverse housing in Carlisle, if the developer who gets it goes through a friendly 40B, so to speak, and I'll put that in air quotes, so.
Well, this has a recording, and I'm just, you know, like.
Yes, Julie?
It has an approved conservation
Great.
for common driveway for 6 lots.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
It's
Okay.
on here.
That is the intention of the
Yeah,
buyer,
yeah.
is to develop that.
6 lots.
A conservation cluster,
Yep.
which is,
It's
Were
only
you-
yeah, so it,
you
Ah,
can
yes,
put
I
the
did see
houses
that.
together,
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
the other, what's the name of the development?
so there's Woodward Village, which
Yes.
is a residential open space community where all the structures are on one
Oh,
lot,
okay.
and then there's preserved land in the back.
Yeah.
This is actually 6 2-acre lots, but
Okay,
they
yeah.
share a common driveway
Oh,
and
I see.
houses, and then the back part would be put to permanent open space protection. Yeah.
But in reality, with $2.4 million purchase price on the thing, that's $400,000 a lot. It's none of them are going to be affordable
Yeah,
per se.
correct.
Right.
Right, we don't require inclusionary zoning in our
Right.
bylaws, so we're
Okay.
not gonna get any.
Nope.
Nope.
I would prefer we allow the owners of the land to move forward, so
Yes.
I
Yep.
would,
I
I
think
agree.
that's exactly right. Okay, so can we get a motion then?
which number is it?
We are on page
Sorry.
33 of 109.
I'll do it. I move that the select board vote not to exercise the municipality's right of first refusal under Mass General Law, Chapter 61, Section 8, with respect to the property identified in the notice of intent dated June 3rd, 2026, and authorize the chair to sign and transmit the written notice of non-exercise and any related documents required by law. The notice of non-exercise shall contain the record owner's name and a description of the premises adequate for identification and shall be recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Travis. Any discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay.
Right.
The ayes have it.
We had
Thank you
two
very much.
options prepared, and this is the negative
Okay,
option. So if you
very
could all
good.
sign each of these, this is the letter as described in the motion.
Did the other option have like the little kitty where we start putting money?
There's an envelope.
Had the
There's an
Five,
envelope.
we each
There's a
contribute
hat.
$500,000.
The other option
Voter
was
for
me
the
staying
town
here all
meeting.
night.
Anyone go back to the budget transfers?
Yes?
Caleb Carpenter, 683 East Street, I'm here with Mosquito.
Yep.
While you guys sign, I wanted to ask, does anybody in town have a list of properties where, on which you could exercise these rights? And I'm curious about how many properties we're talking about.
We do.
The open space plan has a list of 61, chapter
61.
61 properties, yeah. Sorry,
Oh,
not
sorry, oh,
61
chapter
properties.
61A.
Chapter
Yeah, yeah,
61
okay.
properties,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I can share it with you. I'll email it to you right now.
And chapter 61 again is?
Forestry, farm, and there's 61, 61A, and 61B, and I'm forgetting what they all, there's 3 different things, but this one is 61, it's forestry.
The concept is a use that the town would benefit from, forest, agriculture, open
Can you
space.
send that to me too, please?
And to qualify, you have to be of a certain size, and like what qualifies you for the chip?
Well, like in the farming one, you have to be a certain size, you have to actually sell, I think, $600 worth of product a year. You know, there's certain metrics, and
I would think everyone would qualify under forestry in Carlisle.
Yes.
But
Okay, thank you very much for that discussion. Next, we're running a little 10 minutes behind, but we do have a town administrator report, and I have every confidence Ryan will catch us up.
Excellent. A little bit to talk about, so it's a little bit longer report today, but happy to answer any questions. This is my town administrator report for June 23rd, 2026. We had our first outdoor patio coffee hour because my space for having coffee hour is disappearing, even more so when the library goes under renovation. But we had a productive event with great weather, like we anticipated. Topics included property assessment, which it typically does, wetland regulations, interestingly, which came up tonight and will be a talking point as we head into the annual town meeting, and environmental stewardship. So a good, strong discussion. And my favorite part is sometimes it doesn't even involve me. Sometimes people just start talking, and I'm there, and I don't know what to do except listen and internalize the conversation. And I always enjoy it. Gonna do it again on July 14th at 10 a.m. on the patio, and hoping to get the same type of spirited discussion. Tonight we talked about making sure that people stay connected to information and long-term planning. You can do that by listening to this on a podcast or on our video series, signing up for email alerts, getting our newsletter, and we added TV technology to the town hall entryway. We're going to be running reels and information for people that visit town hall. This is specifically targeting our senior population and other information delivery as they come here for senior center activities, but anybody that comes to town hall will benefit. So that's going to be a good thing. Thanks to MMN for helping us with that, and Aubrey's going to be running the content given to her by all of our town staff. Speaking of Aubrey, for your human resources report, we did appoint Anthony Cianci as our new DPW laborer. He started this week and completed all of his training. And I know that because I didn't let him go out into the field until he completed all of his training. But he has experience as an evacuation laborer, HVAC installer, carpenter, call firefighter, and other experiences. So great to add him to the team. Aubrey also has finished updating the personnel policies. She's going to be establishing an annual review process going forward to make that less cumbersome in the future. It should just be the changes that come up year to year. So she's going to be starting that process again, which I'm sure you're excited to hear. She's also going to reconvene the Insurance Advisory Committee. This was a recommendation from our Finance Committee meetings, et cetera, to look at health insurance, the rising costs, different options that we may or not have. There isn't going to be any silver bullet in there, but we do want to make sure that we're talking about that prior to the pressures of the budget season, before we know those costs. So that's all in our HR updates. In terms of the department updates, I'm watching the state budget. The state budget has several items moving that matter to Carlisle. So first, the House budget has a $55,000 earmark. I'm sorry, not the House budget, the supplemental budget. This is an FY26 supplemental, so a change to their FY26 that they're talking about right now. $55,000 to help with the school infrastructure projects, which would create more MFC contingency and offset some of the tax costs. In addition, Senator Barrett included an earmark in the environmental bond bill. One of his key target areas is environmentalism that would help with the costs of the RTU units at Robbins, Grant, and Town Hall. It's a significant earmark as it exists right now. So if any of you have relationships with the senator, I would tell you this is one that we definitely want. You also heard tonight from Kelly that the supplemental budget includes $144,000 to Carlisle to offset the costs and damages from this winter's weather. That will be essentially added to your Chapter 90 pool. So this will help us repave and resurface roads, do design work, help with the sidewalk project, et cetera. So that was much needed addition to our money. As you know, we had to cut some of the road money this year to make the capital plan work, and this offsets that for sure. The TSAC is recommending the following to you. They want to add a parking restriction to their regulations and policies. This is also supported by Jim, your DPW director, and it is as follows. Parking within the transfer station is limited to 15 minutes. This requirement is necessary to assure adequate traffic flow. If you're parked longer than 15 minutes, a transfer station attendant may ask you to move your car outside this transfer station and park elsewhere where it is legal to do so. This seems like a small thing, but it's a big problem at the transfer station. People can come as much as they want, but they can't just sit in place because it interferes with traffic, and we want to make sure that there's language that supports the staff and their ability to move people along when necessary. There's been some confrontations about this. We're not asking you to support anything tonight, just wanted to let you know that this recommendation is coming from the TSAC in order to help with operations. Surplus equipment. So attached to this report is a list of surplus equipment identified by the DPW for disposal, long identified a couple years ago. They haven't used this equipment. In accordance with town policy and mass procurement law, these items must be sold through a competitive process, and we're going to use a municipal bidding site. Subject to your approval, if you're willing to vote tonight, we will advertise this equipment on this platform to try to generate some revenue, but at least dispose of it correctly.
Okay. Can we get a motion?
I move to declare the listed equipment surplus and authorize its disposal in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30B, Section 15, and applicable local written procedures.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Travis. Any discussion or deliberation? Okay, let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay, the ayes have it. I think we're good to
Surplus.
Surplus it.
All right, that's also going to time well with the DPW renovation that's hopefully approved in the spring, so all of it is tied together and makes sense. Bedford Road, the gift from the state to pave Bedford Road. We met, Jim and I, with representatives from MassDOT to review that paving project. They will be funding the paving of the entire roadway, which is a significant investment, a couple $100,000. It has a broad construction window, so it's either going to begin this fall or early next year, depending on the way all of their projects fall. So this is a big bond for the state, and they go town to town. So where our project fits in is where they do it. So since they're paying for it, I guess that's fine. We also are trying to time it with the sidewalk project. So if they can accommodate us for later in the spring, maybe we can make sure that's all coordinated. Because there is a piece of the sidewalk project on Bedford Road. Natural gas pricing. Some of you are new to this board. We talk about natural gas pricing. It is not a significant impact to the town, but it is something that we need to do. Most of our large accounts are at the school, which may change with some of the RTU investments that we're making. But we have a couple accounts with other buildings in town. While we're not a large consumer, we do have a consultant who helps us with it. We review quarterly the market, and he's suggesting right now that we wait, because the market, due to international events, is a little high right now, as you can imagine. So we're tracking that. I expect to do that next quarter, so before the winter, and hopefully this current agreement that may or may not impact gas prices holds, and we might get some favorable action from that in terms of natural gas.
Yes.
Did you see how I walked through the politics of that? Pretty.
Yeah, it's excellent job.
We have a custodial services bid out, and we have strong interest. So this is us trying to back up our custodial staff with the ability to contract the work. So while we're very happy with our custodial staff, and this isn't intended to replace them, as they leave, we're having extreme difficulty replacing them with new staff. So we're looking at a contract that would be cost neutral or improved, because we don't have to pay benefits. This is one of the ways we're trying to stabilize our employment costs, and it's mostly for night custodian positions. So we're looking to have two pieces to this contract. One is an emergency placement if someone quits, leaves, or is let go, and the other is for a more permanent placement, so we have maximum flexibility. And it's a 3-year contract, so we're hoping the pricing is good, and this is a solution that we can do. All right, moving into capital projects, the elevator modernization project is going to begin on July 13th. We have that in writing, so that will start, and everyone's excited about that. Again, it's going to start at the school, and then it's going to move to likely town hall, and then coordinate with the library project. The library one, as I keep telling you, has a lot of different side projects and things, so we're just making sure all of that's coordinated. Annual road maintenance, this is out to bid as well. Expected return date of July 7th, and the primary bid includes Heald, Pope, South, West, Judy Farm Road, and the drainage improvements to Audubon Lane that this board discussed. That's in the primary bid. The alternate bids include a lot of work on North Road, Indian Hill, and Autumn Lane. Overall, it was estimated that that entire package is $900,000, so we'll have to have a discussion when those bids come in about what alternates we may or may not accept. And then we started design work on the Connected Carlisle sidewalk project. This has a late fall bidding timeline with an early spring start. We have $600,000 secured in grant funding thanks to the safety committee. And we are working with Diamond Park, as I told you last time, to try to, the Diamond Park subcommittee, to try and connect the ADA parts, which would make it CPA eligible again. So if we can get our act together, this might be one of the things you see in the newly minted fall town meeting. I just talked about, for CPA projects, the main one you have going on right now is the Diamond Park study. This is the one that's moving along the fastest. They are trying to get their whole design in place for a potential funding ask at a fall town meeting, but definitely at the annual town meeting. And then Cranberry Bog Dam #1, I'm not trying to bum you out, but there's no new information on this, and it's gonna be a big talking point. I don't have any good information for you, but you should stay tuned and tune into the Conservation Commission as they talk about this. It's not only a significant infrastructure, but also has a lot of political implications. So it's gonna be an interesting discussion. For your building construction projects, if you look over the police station, you can see new framing. That's exciting. Most of the digging and dirt has been settled and still within the contingency, so we can say this is on budget. In our last meeting, it was the first time that was formally discussed that the project will extend a couple months at a minimum. So we're working on getting that and its implications to you as soon as possible, but we still do project that this will be on budget. For the fire station renovation, we signed the contract today, so the notice to proceed will be coming out in the next couple weeks. Same thing with the library renovation. That contract was signed, and that will start to move as well. For the DPW renovation, the building committee met with HKA to review the conceptual design and discuss potential refinements. The goal of that discussion, you have your chair here if he wants to add anything to this, is to bring you the final pre-design concept and idea and cost so that you're comfortable with the actual construction documents moving forward and starting to be developed. It's important that the select board is on the same page with the committee so that that process runs well. And some employee recognition. So first, Bill Rizzo is not an employee, but he does have a town laptop and has done a lot of facilities work for the town. He's never been an official employee, but, well, he was an OPM, but that's a different type of employee. His service through facilities management, his volunteerism is extraordinary, is the best word for it. So before you had a facilities department on the town side, it was Bill and other volunteers and Jerry and others who helped keep critical building systems operating. In fact, the first time I met Bill, I think he was on the roof doing some of the maintenance that's required free of charge, which is pretty incredible. He's also been the institutional knowledge for me and others as we work on complex problems. His dedication, expertise, and care for the community helped keep Carlisle running, especially its buildings. And as the Municipal Facilities Committee, most of his ideas, thoughts, and work are now the projects that we're working on and doing. So he's been integral to this community for a long time. So his MFC service is coming to an end, but he's still on 2 active building committees, so he'll be around for a little bit. So we haven't had a formal recognition, but I wanted to recognize his end to his MFC work, which has been incredible.
He's really incredible.
He is.
I will say, he knows about like the wires underground, saying, well, you can't do this because it's here, and just it's really good knowledge.
Yeah, Stephen calls him all the time. He answers the call and says, "What is this? Why was this duct taped together? What decision was made?" And he always has the answer, which is incredible. Also want to recognize Judy Hodges. So another one-of-a-kind employee. I would call her and say, we need some help with minutes on this board. Can you come in? And she would come in and do that work. She's done that 8 times in the town, served in 8 different roles. Most recently, she was working with the Conservation Commission while they had staffing issues, right? Working on the backlog. She also has dedicated countless hours to organizing files, completing detailed and technical work for the Board of Health. And thanks to her, all of that was up to date and ready for when Megan came in and started working. So that was a great transition, and thanks to Judy. So I wanted to thank her for her willingness to step in where is needed. Again, 8 different roles and titles in the town, all having to do with administrative work on the land use side. And then Rich Anise, I'd like to thank Rich for his service, which ends on July 1, when a familiar face, John Mativier, comes back as our regional building commissioner. But Rich stepped in. He looked at me every single day and was like, please, can this service end? He had other work to do, and he stayed committed to the role. I don't think you had any complaints. I definitely didn't have any complaints while he was serving in that role. A lot of people helped him. Julie, John, others were helping with historical, but having him serve as the building commissioner not only saved us money, but saved us the operational pain that comes with it. So that position requires a specialized certification, extensive experience, and a willingness to just take on responsibility. So he adjusted his work schedule, dedicated countless hours, figured it out, and helped our building department run smoothly and bridge to this new long-term relationship that we're gonna have with Lincoln. So on behalf of the community, thanks to Rich for stepping in and doing a great job. Some upcoming topics for you. You're gonna be talking about your goals. I'm gonna try to send out as much information to you as possible, but you saw a lot of it tonight, which is you should look at previous goals, bring your own thoughts and goals, and then some of the planning, like the master plan, open space plan, different things that might inform what we want to do. There was no sign requests or approvals in the last 2 weeks.
What?
First time that's ever happened to me here. We're all signed out. And then there's some dates. We have set the select board goal session for the 7th, right? That's going to happen now. And some topics on your upcoming meeting besides goals include an update about the Bog House, potential vocational school discussion, although with the hiring of the interim superintendent, I think that might get pushed. And then you're going to have some reports from committees and some talks about the committees and charters that you have to make sure that that is all aligned with what you want.
For those committee reports, what is our system for, I mean, it sounds like Conscom would be a good candidate with all the dam work that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Is there an order or a prioritization that you have in mind?
I would suggest a structure of what are your goals, what are you working on, what should we know? And just the 3 simple questions, and then just bring boards in and have that conversation flow.
Right, but as, like, I don't know, which board should we have in first, I guess is all I'm trying to
I think your goals session will help
clarify that. Okay, got it.
All right, 2 things I do need to talk to you about. One is the canvassing and solicitation bylaw requires that I set times and money. So I'm suggesting $25 fee, as was discussed during the debate about the bylaw, and that the hours be from sunrise to sunset. That's my recommendation.
Reasonable. Any discussion there?
I think that's good.
I was thinking about the sunrise part. I don't know how to set up the right time, but I would suggest to any canvassers that if they show up to anyone's house at sunrise, no one's gonna buy it.
Yes.
But sunset, I think, is important that time.
Yes, that is true.
So
Okay.
you don't have to vote on that. If there's no comments, then I'll take that as a good starting point for that bylaw this year.
Yes.
The second thing is we were approached by an attorney, a municipal attorney, about a fire engine lawsuit. So they believe they have evidence that the few providers that make these engines are extorting communities really by increasing the costs so significantly because there's only a certain amount of supply for these. It only applies to things you've purchased, and our last purchase is just outside the window, so it might be included. It was a $600,000 engine, so the return on investment might not be high, but I wanted to make sure that I talked to you about that approach. So I'm not recommending necessarily that we join the lawsuit, but of course, if you want to, we can. I did talk to this lawyer about the fact that we were basically held hostage contractually during the last negotiation and had to have a second town meeting vote because the contract was so variable that they just changed the dollar amount on us, even though we had a signed contract. So that was of interest to them, and maybe that'll go somewhere. But I do owe this attorney an answer. I think he came out and talked to us, so if there's any interest in pursuing this, let me know. The chief said he could go either way and be happy to talk to you about it. So if you want me to bring you more information, I can. If you don't want me working on this, I won't.
What does the board feel like?
Yeah, what it's entailed.
About an hour. It's not a big lift. It would be some of your time, though, to understand it.
So they're concerned it's outside the statute of limitations, though? Is that the?
Yeah. but he said he would take the info. And it would require the chief talking to this lawyer, this law firm, me.
I assume this is a national lawsuit?
Yes.
So all across the country, communities, it's not like, by participating, I mean, obviously, the more towns you have in this, the more weight, but, you know, I don't know that we're gonna put it over the top in terms of.
No.
Contingency-based fee?
Yes.
Structure?
What do you think? You're an expert at
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
I don't know, it seems like we would likely get cut, but
Well, all right, so why don't I review it with you,
Okay.
since you have that expertise, and then we'll bring something to the board again.
okay, sounds good, thank you.
Okay. Was there anything else, Ryan?
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
There's a lot there.
Report. Yeah, that was a meaty report. Thank you. Okay. Liaison assignments and reports.
Yeah,
So for those of us who already had liaison assignments, is there anything?
We didn't vote on them. I think we.
No, we didn't.
Kind of stuck.
Yeah.
I
We
guess-
said, why don't you mull them over, and
Right.
if anyone had comments.
So from our last year's assignments, if anyone had anything to update, anything, yeah.
On the included sheet, I'm happy to keep like, for the blank ones, I think I said at the meeting last, I'm happy to keep the other ones I had, like cemetery task force, unless, you know, someone else really wanted that, or even historical commission, just given that the primary focus of that will be the demo review bylaw, which I've been communicating with them on. So I'm happy to keep those two, which are
Okay.
currently.
Dave's not here. Let's put him on everything.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's the other.
I wanted to do that to you last time.
Yeah. That's why I showed
He's
up.
just willing.
So we watched the tape, everything that's blank, we didn't have a definitive
Yeah.
yes or no.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm happy to keep those two that I did last year and are blank now.
So historical and cemetery committee.
Yep. Do we, and you, the audit committee isn't.
I'll fill that one, yep.
That's not a thing anymore, right?
Okay.
So
And
that
then-
leaves,
Yeah, I'll do the library trustees. I guess I thought I said that during our meeting.
And-
Agricultural commission.
I thought Dave had actually
Yeah, I really-
volunteered for
he-
that, but if they listen to the tape.
See what they.
well, it sounds like he just did.
You can put him
Second.
on that.
Because I think he said, oh, I'm around during the day.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I don't. And then,
Rec commission, sorry.
rec, youth, are those usually a package deal or no?
No.
They are separate, but there is some
Overlap.
overlap in discussions. I was both of those this past year.
Do they do hybrid meetings?
No.
No.
No?
They were online, each one of them.
Rec
Oh.
does,
I mean, these are,
Oh, you mean full online, not
Or
hybrid?
are they
Yeah.
full online then?
rec meets fully in person.
the one that I joined was online. I don't know.
You can always ask them to just, if you know someone on the committee, just have them
Yeah.
take their phone, and you can even listen in, not because we're typically not
Yeah.
participating as much. You
You don't
can
need to go all.
do whatever you want, but.
The idea is not that as liaison you attend every meeting.
No, it's to let
Just
them
to
know.
be the
Right.
point of contact. You reach out to them, they reach out to you. You're the
Okay,
point of
Well-
focus, so you don't need to,
I could do those then.
some of them do. You
Rec
do
and
wanna
youth.
be more.
They're well
I feel
run.
like youth, I know all of those.
Yes.
That
as
commission,
well.
like I know the
Yeah.
entire group of them, so
I
it's
know,
great.
Yeah, so
Is
that's.
there
that's one we-
anything else outstanding, Ryan?
MAPC and magic.
Say that again?
That's I was that last year. It's a very low lift. Was that? Joel?
Plan Advisory Group
Oh.
on Interlocal Coordination. It is our sub-region of the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission,
Yes.
which is our regional planning agency.
Yes.
So if I'm doing planning, should I be doing that one?
That would be an excellent fit.
And they meet on Tuesday mornings, Rebecca.
You don't
Like
need-
9 to 11
I
on
have to go
Zoom.
to all of them.
You do not. I go to as many as I can, and then we have a planning board representative.
Okay.
So you
We're
can just
well
check in with
represented.
the planning board liaison and say.
Just to give the board an update too, and the ZBA, I'm the liaison to that, or was going to be. But there was a question at last meeting about that there weren't going to be enough members to have actually a committee formed, or at least enough. So I had volunteered to be on that, so did Mark Bernstein, and he's here tonight. But as it turns out, they asked legal counsel, and legal counsel didn't think it was a conflict. Oh, one thing that came up was, could Mark serve because he's on FinCom? And legal counsel didn't think that there was an issue with that, is that right? So, you know, that's always a possibility. Now we don't have to have that as a hurdle anymore, or unless the select board thinks so. But as it turns out, Julie, I guess you've said there are 3. You're going to go back to them? That's all right. These things, this is why we need to talk.
And I don't think the CBA members knew that their terms were up. I certainly didn't.
Right.
And so we are reaching out to them to see if they want to be reappointed.
Great.
Yeah, I think they just didn't realize. And I didn't realize either, so I didn't tell them.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, so,
And then the River Stewardship Committee.
Oh.
river stewardship.
This is the pulling the chestnuts out of the river,
Yes.
and it's always on the day I can't do this. That's
Same here, yeah.
They just did that, and I had
This is the one where I think you would have a relationship with someone who's on the committee and just stay informed. I don't-
I'll do
Dave
that.
said he could, or.
Oh,
or we could
Dave.
volunteer Dave.
Yeah.
I feel like we haven't given him
No.
enough to get.
Ryan, I'll sign up for that one.
Okay.
So do a tally, let us know if any of these are like heavily skewed toward, you know, someone doesn't have enough assignments or someone has way too many. Because I'm not really sure what I signed up for at this point.
It seems all right.
Okay.
We can look at the exact.
Do we need to approve this, or?
Planning session, we'll just look.
You
can
should-
approve it.
You don't want
Why
to,
don't, we can
Spelling
approve it
and-
and amend it, just so we can start
okay, yeah.
telling, because it'd be good to start telling committees of changes, right?
Yes. Okay, do we have a motion then?
I move that we approve the fiscal year 2027 Select Board Liaison assignments as published in the latest draft of the package for 23rd with the amended, or
As
the
amended.
additions that we made tonight.
Great, thank you, Travis. Do we have a second?
Second?
Any discussion or deliberation?
Can we make a clerical change to my name spelling without
Oh.
Yeah.
having to? Okay, thank you.
Did we
So that
spell-
correction
Did
is
we spell the
important.
boss's name wrong? Great.
You almost got off, you almost got out of all your liaison assignments.
Exactly.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay, the ayes have it, and we are good on liaison assignments. Okay, next on the agenda is appointments. We have an appointment for, is it Kira Prats from ESC?
Is it Kira or Krya?
Kira.
So is this misspelled in the motion?
No,
Oh,
it's spelled correctly.
okay.
It's pronounced Kira.
okay.
Okay. Kira Prats from ESC. Christina, do you have any remarks or supporting information?
We didn't actually realize, we thought that she was appointed for a 3-year position, but she was, ended up being appointed for a vacancy, so we didn't realize that her term was up. She's been a wonderful addition to ESC. The committee hasn't specifically had a chance to discuss her reappointment, but she's been just a wonderful member of ESC, so I can't imagine anyone not being supportive of her reappointment.
Great, okay, do we have a motion to, or is there any, I should say, do we have any other, I read her application, sounds great. Okay, do we have a motion then?
I move to reappoint Kira Prats to the Environmental Sustainability Committee with a term of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you very much. Any discussion or deliberation? Okay.
I'm so sorry. Shouldn't it be through the end of 2029?
Yeah, I was just looking, why would that be a year?
Oh, good point.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but.
No?
Yeah, no, that's
all
an
right.
excellent
I
point,
don't,
Christina.
I'm not sure what,
It's a 3-year term for ESC, right?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's go
unless
ahead.
they were filling a vacancy that was, you
Hold
know,
on, let me-
the interim for that vacancy, we could always just appoint a one-year term and then reappoint.
Let me just look real quick on the.
May I say something? She actually ended up being appointed for 1 year this past go around.
So was she only volunteering for one more year? Was that her intent?
Well, her,
No, the intent was that she was going to be appointed for 3 years, but somehow clerically she ended up just being appointed for 1 year.
so
And so,
yeah, and on the website it says term ending 2028. So I'm guessing it's a 3-year term starting a year ago.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So we can appoint her for a year and adjust that, or we can just,
I would say appoint for the maximum allowable term.
okay, for the remainder of the term?
So 2029 is what we thought. Christina thought it was supposed to be.
No,
No, the
The maximum
2028.
allowable,
Yeah.
and that way it covers it?
yeah, okay.
Do you want to amend your?
Now I gotta find it again.
Wait, is that to 2028 or,
We would just say maximum.
oh,
So we move to reappoint Kira Prats to the Environmental Sustainability Committee with a term ending at the maximum allowable period
for the vacant
for
position?
the current vacant position.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay, hearing none. We have a new appointee for the ESC. Thank you, Christina.
Gretchen and the AI bot can untangle that one.
Yeah. Great. Okay, moving on from appointments. And now we're 3 minutes ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
Excellent. Look at us.
It always-
The review of warrants and minutes, we do have a vote on that. Did everyone have a chance to read the June 9th minutes?
I did.
Do we have any corrections or amendments?
My only, well, it's not a correction, well, I don't know, it was a comment, that I noticed the roll call, they already have the positions labeled in the roll call, chair, vice chair, but we hadn't yet voted on them. So-
Oh, interesting. Yeah, as of that moment in time, no, they were not
So they
official.
weren't.
Okay, well, she did a retrospective. Yeah.
I don't know, I don't know if
Yeah.
that matters, but
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll allow it. No.
Yeah, I was gonna
that's
say,
what
I-
I thought,
For
I
voted
thought I'd
chair.
bring it up, I don't know.
Yeah, I
if
don't
it
know, that's one of
matters.
those weird, like, how do you even open the meeting?
Yeah.
Well, you didn't have a chair,
Yeah.
Brian said we're gonna vote on it.
Okay, were there any
No,
other
there are no comments.
comments or anything? Okay. Do we have a,
Move to approve the minutes of June 9th, 2026 Select Board meeting?
Second.
thank you very much. Any discussion or deliberation other than what we just had?
Actually, one thing. No, I don't have any
Oh.
discussion. I was
Oh.
leaving and I was gonna have Mark, there was one thing.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's go ahead and take a vote then. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Can I ask to go out of order of your thing, because I think we're doing cemetery deeds, but I
Sure.
wanted to, but since Mark's still here. There was, if you have liaison reports, I did want to talk just briefly about the DPW Building Committee. We have met, and we met with our consultant. Our consultant had a number of ideas, and I just want to not only inform you, but I really want to not only inform you, but get a pulse of what the select board thinks. Part of it was right size, well, first of all, it was location. We talked about potentially moving. Initially, the thought was it was going to replace the existing facility, and the consultant has made a really good case that we really should move it to where there's, you know, where all the brush is kept, and there's a extra building, kind of where behind the transfer station.
Mhm.
I don't know if you're following it,
Mhm. Yeah,
but
yeah,
to locate it there, because it'll be further out of the wetlands. We voted to do that, and as subsequently, they're gonna start, Ryan will move forward, hopefully, and as we move forward, to get the survey done and all the work needed to study that site and to really move that site forward. The issue came up with right-sizing the facility, because our consultant thinks, you know, we need a little bit more than what's there. and we discussed budgetary concerns.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I think that is helpful is we always talk about the needs and what we want to build to the need of that. But also we have to be cognizant of, this is what we reasonably think we can spend. And we had said in the meeting, it was kind of a $15 million budget all in, which is I think what the select board we had talked about. And so that's kind of part of that discussion. One thing that had come up though was the ESC representative Keith Theron is obviously very supportive, as I think is our board and certainly the ESC, of putting solar on the roof of the building.
Mhm.
And the question came up, is that part of that budget of the 15? Because it will have a impact on that whole decision-making process. And I'm asking you if there's anything I missed in that
Sounds right.
discussion. And I just think it's important that we flush that out as a board, because the committee is wrestling with that too, or will be. And that'll have we're also looking at things like the cistern, which was mentioned earlier, which is a huge component, it's a large investment, and we'll have to work with the fire chief as to what the right size of that is, because as you expand that and everyone says, oh, we want more, well, that's great, but there's just cost concerns about that.
So
So I-
Travis, is the question
Is
in front of
the
the board
15
did the 15 million include the solar?
Correct, and you're gonna ask, what is the cost of the solar? And
Mhm.
I don't have that.
I don't remember
think-
solar being part of the package. That was not scoped when we discussed. I remember Jerry talking to us about it. We discussed the prefab versus the not prefab. I don't remember solar.
There are some, I know at the fire station, there was some, the building codes require some energy offsets, correct? So I would say if the solar is needed to satisfy that requirement, it would probably be part of the project. If it's not, if it's extra, if it's just a good thing to do, a smart thing to do, I would say no. I know with the fire station, there was some energy efficiency stuff built into the core plan to satisfy our building requirements, correct?
Yep.
Right, so, and it might not be solar, there might be it might already be energy efficient and meet that. Do you see the distinction I'm making on that one?
I think so.
But typically, I would say no. But then if the building doesn't meet the energy requirements, you need solar to
Then
do
you
that.
can't- Right.
Right, so that would be if it's a nice to do, then I would, like the fire station, there's solar that's not included that could be added in the future.
Mhm. Is there anything else I missed in that? I think that's an important question for the board. but
Yeah.
If-
No, I think that's-
Articulated correctly as to, okay.
Rebecca?
I think there's gonna be a few talking points.
That's true.
If we're saying no, are we pre-installing the conduit for the,
I would
wiring?
advocate for that. I
Yeah.
would advocate for that, but the question, but who knows? I mean, this may come down to making choices is ultimately, and I just would like to have a sense ahead of time so that our committee, heads the right direction in making those choices rather than,
I think if it's a no, you should still be looking to try and do the conduit piece, because that's
Yeah.
a money saver later.
So wired for, but not including the actual solar.
That's kind of what the fire station was.
was that at the fire station?
Yeah.
But, like all building projects, I don't know where it's tracking, and it's too early to say, but the 15 million is an arbitrary number. I'm not saying it should be above or below that, but it's,
The consultant, I think, reasonably thinks that's achievable,
Yeah.
but there are considerations depending on as we get into it. He gave us examples of comparable sized or larger that were done for less, and I'm like, well, then we're in great shape, you know? But I don't, I think we need to target something, otherwise it gets.
I wouldn't
out of
want them
control.
making an operational compromise to have solar panels if it wasn't required. I think the building needs to serve the function of the DPW first. If we can make it, and if that doesn't support solar panels at this time, I think if there is the potential for that in the future, we should be smart about it, but I wouldn't cut something operationally for solar if that's the trade-off you're talking.
Okay.
It's good.
That would be my
And
view.
that's,
Yeah.
if,
I'm not saying we don't do solar, but that's prioritization, I think, is
The
operational.
committee was gonna come to the select board anyway at some point,
Yeah.
but this is all, gets shaped up front, and so it's
And you have
helpful.
add alternates and all that stuff, how do you prioritize,
Yeah,
sure.
right. Anything else, Mark?
There might be grants, like, because I know the
Right.
thing,
The fuel tanks,
oof,
is that included or not?
No,
that would not be
that's not
included.
included.
Because we have a capital plan for the.
We do have a capital plan, but that's $1 million worth of work.
Yeah,
for
but
the
that's,
fuel tanks.
to me, that's separate and independent of the DPW building.
Okay, well, it's gonna be done at the same time,
Right.
likely, so that'll have to be broken out for a town meeting vote, likely.
I mean, separate from a budgetary standpoint, I see the fuel thing as a separate project. Whether, it could be approved all, but I wouldn't say 15 million and includes the fuel
Right.
tank.
Okay.
Good to know.
Okay.
That would, I mean, that's my individual
Does
view.
that fit in our budgeting generally? I mean, the things that we've put
Yeah,
forward
so
to the
the-
town.
The hybrid option presented to you as it exists was 13.5 million with 1.5 in design costs or soft costs.
The hybrid.
So the conceptual design.
This was the original
15 million
design.
with the 1.4 you already approved.
What was the hybrid, though?
That's what they called it, because we were going to take it at the existing facility, we were
Okay.
gonna put it down, demo the building, and then put up a prefab building.
And you're gonna put hybrid vehicles in it? No.
So we switched designers, so
Yeah.
right now I would, just colloquial say that they always disagree, so we're working through
Well, it's a different location, too.
what does or does not happen, where does it need to be, and then what does that shake out in terms of their estimate of
Yeah.
cost? And then that has to come back to you to make sure that it makes sense
Mm.
financially and everything.
Currently, I have more confidence in our new
Yeah.
program than I did our old program.
Okay.
And I like the location. We walked that at the last tour.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good reasons to move from the existing center.
And you don't have the cost incurred of temporary facility.
Just
Because
getting away from the
They can operate out of the
wetlands.
existing one, they can, and then just,
Yeah.
Where that
That makes a lot
current
of
one
sense.
is in relation to that
Yeah.
wetlands is.
I'm sorry to take up the time.
Okay, no, that's a good,
It's gonna
good
take up a
discussion.
large chunk of your
Yeah,
year,
it's
so it's
important.
going to be a.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
The first of many decisions, I'm sure, on that. Okay, cemetery deeds. We have a number of transfers.
Yes.
This is the very last page of our packet. Do we have any, can I get a motion?
I'll move. Can we do them all at once? You can't. Okay. I move to transfer land in the public burial ground at the Green Cemetery as described, deed 875 to Kenny Selkser, Church Street, for Lot D, 350, Grave 4. That's my motion. 'cause
Oh,
it's-
do we have to
No, I
move in a
think you can
second
bullet-
every single one?
That's what you.
I think you have to read them all.
Read them all.
Read them all.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so, and then deed 876 to Anita and Dave Murphy of Bedford Road for Lot C 17, Grave 4. Deed 877 to John Mann, Heald Road for Lot D 350, Grave 2. Deed 878 to Margaret Claybrook, Stern Street for Lot D 227, Grave 3. Deed 879 to Philip and Margaret Gladstone, Curve Street for Lot D 227, Graves 1, 2, 4, and 5. And deed 880 to Mark Spears and Sandra Bolduc, North Road for Lot D 222, Grave 4.
Thank you, Travis.
That's my motion. Second? Okay.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay. Any discussion on that? Okay, let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any no votes? Okay, and it is moved.
Is this the old pricing or the new pricing?
New
This is
pricing.
new pricing.
All right.
Yeah.
I feel like we're signing a lot
Just,
of these, like we're running
that
out of space.
second to last bullet, Ryan, Margaret looks like it could potentially be misspelled.
Okay. Well,
Margaret
Mara,
Gladstone.
Marga, Gara,
Okay, and I
Well,
think.
let's look on the deed.
Mm,
that should be.
I'll look on the last.
that's it.
I think it's
It's spelled correctly there.
spelled
So it's
correctly.
just spelled incorrectly in the.
Okay.
Okay. Excellent. Did we cover all our agenda items? It looks like we are down to community input. Anybody online have any comments?
Were there any other liaisons? I don't have any liaisons.
We already, well.
Did anyone else have any?
Liaison assignments and reports was all at one. And yeah, if you had any others, now would be time to add them in.
We reviewed the minutes. Do we need to do the warrant separate?
I'm sorry, Rebecca?
No.
What was that?
The warrant separate? Or, because we approved the minutes, but
You don't,
9:45?
The warrants are informational.
Okay,
They're,
okay.
and I signed the warrants.
Yes.
Electronically.
electronically, yeah?
Nice.
I'll do the next one in person, but yeah, I signed them remotely.
Very good.
That was easy.
Okay.
Okay, any community input? Okay, I think, can I get a move to adjourn? Or I move to adjourn?
I moved to adjourn.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can.
I'm used to moving to adjourn, but only because I'm not chair.
I'll second.
Thank you. I'll talk, okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.